what Football Focus doing. Last week they had Brady. This week they got Brady.
We're literally doing it differently from everybody else.
Hey, as a matter of fact, moving forward from this point on, I will not make reference to PFF.
Ready to get into it?
Yeah.
All right. We're going team by team.
I would be very careful about slinging stuff.
Am I going to get sued?
You got legal on this?
Let's send you out on the right note. PFF sucks. Have a great day, everybody.
Wow.
Welcome into the PFF NFL podcast. Steve Palazzolo, Sam Monson. Again, I have no idea how much our pre-show conversations actually make it to air, but here we are.
Hopefully most of that.
We're live on a Monday morning on YouTube. Appreciate everybody for being here. Live and in the chat. Give you time to get in here because it's Mock Draft Monday, Sam.
Yeah, look at that. You're just repping the Fanatics logo with the new Sloan hoodie.
Yeah, this is from Sloan, two-time keynote speaker at Sloan.
You should start putting that in the resume. Keynote speaker at Sloan and the Cool Clinic.
The Cool Clinic.
Get the mug.
The Cool Clinic hype video came out there, and it's like offensive line gurus, and it starts with me.
And you. Yeah.
And then it works its way up to, Dante, and Andy Reid's going to be speaking there. It's just me and Andy.
You and Dante Scarnecchia.
Yeah.
It's a couple of legends.
Yeah. In the past year, I do have a wide breadth of skills here, Sam. I've spoken. There we go. I've spoken at Sloan, and the offensive line clinic, and at the Cancer Institute at UC, all within the same calendar year.
Right, and within 12 months. That's quite a range.
Breadth of
showing range.
Skill. It's good range.
It was the same speech every time? You gotta go one.
Yeah. As an offensive line expert,
it's like
cancer doctors.
Like a stand-up comedian. You've got one show, you just do it 1,800 times a year.
A little tweak, just like you slide in one extra slide here and there.
Next year you get rid of it and start again.
Yeah, well, it's a lot easier if you do that. Anyway, today's Mock Draft Monday. We're going to be doing this every Monday for the most part from now until the draft. Last week we actually gave bonus mock draft content because we reacted to something.
Well, we then looked at other people's mock drafts,
yeah,
and uncovered a plagiarism scandal.
Yes, we did. Yeah, we sure did. I know, nothing came of that. Haven't been sued yet, so that's good.
No, hopefully people are it's obvious enough that we're being, we're joking, that so the lawyers don't get involved when that's the case.
You shouldn't have even called attention to it. Eli, we didn't talk about this. Are you good to follow along with the MDS? Oh, you're the best. Just making sure. So we're gonna go through the MDS. Today's theme. So what we're doing with the mock drafts is some themes. Right? Sometimes, like last week, you and I we were co-GMs. Now, other times we'll go head-to-head. We'll each pick a team. Other times we'll have you choose. The fans will select. We do that a lot closer to the draft where we have the fan vote one. We had Chris Collinsworth on for his mock draft last year before the draft. But today, team needs. We're going to draft for need. The thing that we always rail against. Draft the best players. Draft the best players. Don't just reach for need. It's a need draft here. We're just gonna fill needs, and this we'll probably have the best feedback from fans
because this is the one that everybody wants their team to do, and yet is generally accepted to be the worst way of drafting.
Yeah, this is like appease the fans today. So
I mean, you basically you pointed this out last week, right? Every time the Dallas Cowboys do this, they get into trouble. Every time they just draft good players, they're better off.
Great
they
things
find
happen.
Michael Parsons by mistake.
Why'd you draft a receiver that we don't need? Oh, because he's awesome. So let's just fill needs.
Let's ruin every team in 2.5 hours.
That's what we're gonna do. Retitle this thing, ruining every team in 2.5 hours. I'm gonna put on a 3-round every team because we'll do the second rounders too.
Oh, wow.
We'll pick some needs for the Browns and whoever else, Texans.
Tell you what, let me go. I will set up a window that is just those teams. That way we won't have the problem we had last time, which is you have to go through every team again.
Oh, that's sharp.
In the third round.
That's sharp. All right, you ready to get into this?
Yeah.
Okay, let's do it. Let's start at the top. We know what's going to happen. Chicago Bears. They're picking number 1. Biggest needs, quarterback.
Yeah. We're really just trying to find ways that we can get through the quarterback discussion in 5 minutes as opposed to spending an hour on it every time.
Do you want to do QB rankings? Do you want to go deep dive on the QBs this week? Or are we going to do running backs?
I like running backs. I think we should try and get ourselves fired at PFF by talking about running backs. They don't like that, PFF. They're anti-running back in this building, and we're gonna push back.
Why would you rank them? There's nothing to rank.
They're worthless anyway. What's the point? So let's fight back against that.
So maybe Thursday, we try to get fired. We'll do a running back ranking
By
show.
analyzing running backs.
By analyzing running backs.
Perfect.
It's a fireable offense, for sure. It's in the contract. All right, Bears number 1, Caleb Williams.
Easy. See? Look at this. Firing. This is an incredible rate of.
Talk about the Bears more at 9. There it is.
Yeah, it's pretty obvious. They got rid of their quarterback. They therefore need another one pretty acutely.
Great. So are we going to do trades? Nah, probably not. Probably not going to do trades. Commanders on the clock at 2. Last week we gave them Drake May.
Yeah, also got rid of their quarterback, therefore need a new starter.
We certainly need one.
Yeah.
I think they're going to draft Caleb Williams. That's what I'm thinking.
The Commanders?
Oh, sorry, the Bears. We thought we were still talking about the Bears.
No.
Yeah, Washington also got rid of their quarterback. They definitely need one. Drake May. Last week we gave them Drake May as co-GMs. You want to flip it this week just to mix it up?
No. I think I think Drake May is QB2 now. I was a coin flip to me before. Now I'm coming down more on the Drake May side of things.
You did more film grinding.
A little bit, yeah. I also
Or data diving.
bit of both.
Yeah. What'd you find?
Not even. I mean, it's not like I discovered it, but the sack rate stuff for Jaden Daniels is just catastrophic. Like it's in the realm where all the quarterbacks stink. You know what I mean? It's not saying that if you have this, you are going to be bad. It's just saying that so far, pretty much all the bad quarterbacks do have that. So if you're going to have that catastrophic a sack rate, and there's another option that seems quite close, let's go with the other option. Not have that.
The sack rate thing, for those who don't know, there's a couple ways of looking at that, but the analytics community is hot on this right now.
Well, it appears to be a very quarterback-driven data point, right? Like you go back far enough, you tended to think of sacks and sack rates as offensive line things, right? But really, you shouldn't have, even if you just sort of looked at the data. Like Dan Marino didn't go have the best sack rate for like 8 straight years because the Miami Dolphins had the best offensive line in the NFL for 8 straight years. They had a good one, but Dan Marino was like a sack avoiding savant, right? With the fast, like the number one thing everyone would always say about Dan Marino, fastest release you've ever seen. It's like the gold standard. Look at you. You're like a Wayne's World segment, you know? Remember when he was there with all the Pepsi stuff and eating a Domino's pizza? And that's you right now.
You were making fun of me. Sorry, I interrupted. You were on a good run there, but you were making fun of me the other day for my new small PFF mug.
Yeah. I have an album. I don't have an album. I have a bunch of photographs on my phone that are just Steve holding normal-sized things and making them look tiny with his giant hands. That was the latest one that I thought was pretty funny. You were taking a sip out of this, what is effectively like a pint glass-sized thing, right? And you were making it look like a shot glass.
Yeah.
It's just it's pretty funny.
This is part of our new swag at the Combine. Sorry, I interrupted your flow. Yeah. Dan Marino, sack avoiding
the number
savant.
one thing people would always say about Dan Marino, fastest release you've ever seen, right? It's the gold standard. That's the release that everyone wants to try and get to, right? Which means that Dan Marino didn't get sacked a lot because when the pressure was coming, ball's gone. So it's a quarterback-driven data point, effectively. The more we look into it and the more you just study that.
And the best QBs of all time, you got Peyton Manning, Tom Brady, Patrick Mahomes. Like all those guys are unbelievable at avoiding sacks, and they all did it kind of differently, right? Well, you wouldn't say Brady's got the Marino release, but you'd say he always knows where he's going with the ball. Mahomes, you would say his avoidance. He actually invites a lot of pressure, but he is unbelievable at avoiding the actual sack, the tackle itself. So all of the best quarterbacks of all time are incredible at this particular metric.
Yeah, and Peyton Manning was always really good at it. And Peyton Manning had this like just immediate, as soon as pressure arrived, he would immediately turn and dump it off to the running back, right? He knew where his check down was every single play instinctively. So as soon as pressure arrived, he's working the read down here, 1 to 2 to 3, pressure, turn, dump it off to the running back, no sack.
That isn't to say that quarterbacks who have a high sack rate, like Russell Wilson's always had a high sack rate in the NFL. Aaron Rodgers, for the majority of his career, has been
Rodgers is the one that breaks
it.
it a little bit. I saw somebody put up a chart that cut it off at like 2017 or something. I'm like,
but you're talking about college.
So yeah,
guys
to come into the NFL since 2017, and it's like, well, that cuts off Aaron Rodgers, who's probably the best proponent of the always took more sacks than he should. But not got away with it, but made it work because he's one of the best quarterbacks of all time at everything else. Style of thought, style of play. Like Rodgers had for a while the lowest interception rate in NFL history, but had a reasonably high sack rate. So he's the one guy that, if you're digging into this from a data point of view, you need to have him in the chart because, like, he proves that does work. can work.
His college sack rate?
No. His sack rate generally. Like Rodgers is always skewed on the end of takes more sacks but throws fewer interceptions because of it.
But we're viewing this data point's being viewed as, here we go down the rabbit holes. This data point's being viewed as, here's this stat. And it's viewed at two different ways. You could just do overall sack percentage, sacks as a percentage of dropbacks, or the one that we have as part of premium stats at PFF, as part of your PFF Plus package, pressure to sack ratio, which is really not worded perfectly, but it's basically the percentage of pressure dropbacks that become sacks. That's the number. Obviously, we don't have that number for Aaron Rodgers, which is why it's never shown. But it's used as a data point that says, look at all the college quarterbacks who had this number. Not that it correlates directly one-to-one to the NFL percentage, but when you look at the quarterbacks who are below a certain threshold of bad, none of those quarterbacks became good, whatever good looks like. Because Joe Burrow has had a high sack rate at the NFL level.
And it does tend to be pretty sticky as a college to NFL data point.
It is. It's sticky as a data point, but you're looking at it as, look at the players who are better at this, look at the players who are worse at this, and you're pulling more of the good quarterbacks from those who are good at this particular metric or either of those metrics at the college level.
Right.
Again, I am not I joke with some who use this that they might be a one-issue voter, right? We don't want to be one-issue voters. It's not the only data point, but it is a significant one. And as I said, like Hansel in Zoolander, so hot right now. So we're going Drake May number 2 and Jaden Daniels number 3 is what we're saying. So there we go. Next 2 picks.
Patriots obviously also needing
Washington Commanders in the quarterback market. Of course, they'll take Drake May, and the Patriots who need a quarterback, they will take Jaden Daniels from LSU. Is 2024 bringing exciting or unexpected changes to your life? Well, here's a secret weapon to help you face those challenges with more confidence. It's a great term life insurance policy. That's right. Fabric by Gerber Life makes it simple to protect your family's financial future so you can focus on what's ahead knowing your family's protected if something else unexpected happens. Fabric was designed by parents, for parents, to help you get a high-quality, surprisingly affordable term life insurance policy in less than 10 minutes. And Fabric has flexible policies that fit your family and your budget, like $1 million in coverage for less than $1 a day. Get your personalized quote in just minutes and then apply when it's convenient for you. It's all online and on your schedule. You can go from start to coverage in less than 10 minutes with no health exam required. So join the thousands of parents who trust Fabric to protect their family. Apply today in just minutes at meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. That's meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. meetfabric.com/PFFNFL. Policies issued by Western Southern Life Insurance Company, not available in certain states. Prices subject to underwriting health questions. All right, Arizona Cardinals are up at number 3.
What's their biggest need? Because they need quite a lot of things.
So is it, it's still probably a receiver.
I would lean receiver simply because with absent Marquise Brown, their number 1 receiver is now Michael Wilson, right?
Yeah, I still think it's receiver. So when you're going through this, are you going to say, are we ignoring the board entirely and just saying, here's the biggest need, find a player? Like the biggest need's a safety, scroll down to round 2, draft a safety. I don't want to do it that way necessarily.
No, but
there's got to be some semblance of like who's going to get picked in the whole thing.
Generally speaking, I think you're unlikely to pull in. The biggest need being a safety is probably tough to do. Secondary.
Like if you said tight end was their biggest need, we're just like, all right, Brock Bowers. We're not going to do that.
No, but I think, a team like the Cardinals, you can give them the entirety of defense pretty much.
No, that's true.
That's a big need.
That's true.
But
I think we have to have some sort of
I think
value.
If you can, Marvin Harrison is the top player on the board. If you can get the Marvin Harrison that fit a team need, I think that makes sense. And for the Cardinals, they desperately need a number 1 wide receiver, given that they don't have one, and they have the quarterback. So Marvin Harrison makes sense.
That's the lens to view it from. Like we're more saying no best player available here. Let's fill a need. It doesn't have to be here's the top need. Let's make sure we pick a player.
Yeah.
All right. So we're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr.
Still the best receiver for you? Not overthinking him yet? We got time.
Yeah, he's still the best.
You got like a month to overthink him.
No, I mentioned. We had the receiver rankings show, parts 1 and 2, last week, and I think for Marvin Harrison Jr., he's so good at a lot of different things.
People were big mad about the Jamar Chase foul up.
Yeah, you screwed up. It was like a
mistake. It was an error in judgment.
But you just forgot. You personally kind of forgot that he ran in the 4.3s.
Yes.
The point we were trying to make is, before he even ran, he was so good at playing football. I didn't even think about, this guy runs 4.3. I don't think he looked like he ran 4.3 in college.
No, I didn't.
That was the point I was trying to make. He was so good at everything. I would have drafted him in the top 5 or whatever anyway. And then on top of that, he ran 4.3, and it's like, oh, he's so good at everything receiver-driven, and maybe he's even more explosive than I thought. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Because I think Marvin Harrison Jr. has elements of, doesn't look as explosive as Malik Neighbors, doesn't look as explosive as some of the other guys who ran faster, but he's so good at everything else receiver-related, so he's fine.
Evidently, he is way more explosive than he looked on tape. I do think that people are refitting that a little bit. You know, having seen all of his explosive numbers, they're sort of retrofitting the tape and going, wow, look. I mean, it's not like explosive in this term does not mean can't make big plays. Explosive means do you look like you visibly run a 4.3 flat and jump out of the gym.
His plays, like Jamar Chase's plays, like everybody's got these highlight reel plays in their head. The highlight reel plays for me in Jamar Chase is he's got a cornerback stacked, got that half step on him.
Like at the catch point.
Half step on him, and he's just winning.
Right.
I remember, Jordy Nelson and Antonio Brown. I went through all these comps for Jamar Chase because those guys just knew how to win at the catch point, knew how to separate late. Jamar Chase had that. He was not 2 steps behind the defender.
Right. Like Tyreek Hill
that often.
looks explosive on the count of being maybe the most explosive receiver in the NFL. But like
runs
the tape,
past everybody, runs by
you look
everybody.
at the tape, not just that, but like the springiness, the sheer physical, twitchy explosiveness. Like Tyreek Hill, obviously that jumps out of his tape. I don't think it did for Jamar Chase. But anyway, obviously he has that explosiveness as judged by his 40 time and other measurables. The point being, there are receivers that fit that mold, right? That run a 4.5 or a 4.6 and yet are capable of making all the plays.
So we're going to go Marvin Harrison Jr. to the Cardinals at 3. 4. Mm-hmm. Correct? Good. Let's do it. So nothing's changed so far. Where does this thing go off the rails as a need?
Well, so now I think we get to a team where
they have a receiver need.
Yes, they definitely have an acute need that would force you in one direction. So I think the Chargers, their biggest need now, having shipped off their entire wide receiver core, is wide receiver because Quentin Johnston is the number 1 guy at the moment.
All right, so Malik Neighbors to the Chargers.
Yeah.
And now we pretty much have, I would say this is chalk, right? This is what the expectation is for the top 5. Maybe flip May and Daniels at 2 and 3, but the first 5 players off the board, I think this is what we're expecting. So let's
now
go.
It gets interesting.
Malik Neighbors to the Chargers.
Yep.
So Caleb Williams, Drake May, Jaden Daniels, Marvin Harrison Jr., Malik Neighbors.
What is the Giants' biggest need?
Now let's define need. Would you call quarterback a need, right? Need, as I always try to educate our listeners, I don't think need is like the most it's not just the thing that's right in front of you right now. You can view needs as a 2-year proposition. And you could say a year from now, the Giants trying to get out of a Daniel Jones contract, a quarterback is a need. So you could parse it that way.
You could. Let me pitch you this as an idea.
I don't like it.
Huh?
I don't like it.
Okay.
Oh, no, go ahead. Pitch.
I don't know if can we call him the late Mike Clay? Mike Clay used to work at PFF back
late.
in the day.
Yeah.
So the late Mike Clay,
former PFFer,
now at ESPN. He does this thing that dates all the way back to his time at PFF, where he essentially posts a grid of team needs or team roster rankings, effectively broken down by position group, right? And he quantifies them on a scale of 0 to 4 or 5.
5, I think.
5. The Chiefs are number 1 at quarterback with a 4.0, and they have Mahomes, so maybe it tops out at 4. Anyway, 0 to 4 or 5, that essentially says how strong is this position group. So we could use his thing and determine what your actual biggest need is.
Okay, but as I said, so yes, I'm good. I like the Mike Clay scale. Rest in peace, Mike. Currently of ESPN. The scale's fine. But as I said, we're not just taking the biggest need because it's like one of them is going to be safety and it like pick 8 or something, and we're not just like
safety's not. So their biggest need.
I'm not saying the Chargers. I'm saying some team's going to have safety in the
Giants.
top 10.
We're under the Giants. Get with the program.
What did I say?
The Chargers.
Giants.
Their 2 biggest needs, according to young Michael, are cornerback and wide receiver.
Okay. Not offensive line, huh?
No.
Not tackle.
Not offensive line.
He's got tackle and interior offensive line.
No, he's just got them smushed together. Just offensive line.
Okay.
It's a need. I mean, the Giants, according to Mike, have the worst roster in the NFL and a need almost everywhere. So
fair.
It's,
All right, so you want to throw, I mean, obviously I would go receiver over. I mean, I like this corner class. I will say, I want to go on record here.
Oh, yeah?
Corner class being slept on.
Okay.
This cornerback class is being slept on. I believe that the top of this corner class is comparable to I think the corner class is going to be comparable to the receiver class.
What?
Yeah.
That's madness.
I think there's depth.
This receiver class is absurd.
We talk about this every year. We're going to be here for hours. Every year, the nature of scouting receiver makes us more inclined to like them.
This is not an every year I like the receiving class thing. This is.
Oh my gosh, I'm guilty too.
This receiving.
If we had the full research team, where's Ben Stockwell? Ben, stop doing what you're doing. Go back through the archives.
Yeah. This is different.
Find all the times that we said this is a deep receiver class.
It is.
It's whatever flavor you like.
But it's abnormally
It's all
deep.
about what you can do at receiver.
It's abnormally deep, even in the context of we generally like the receiving core, which has been very deep for a number of years. Like, it is an all-timer.
No, I know. I agree it's really good. I think we're sleeping on the corner class. And I also think that the nature of the cornerback class, I mean, you kind of liked a lot of guys last year, but the nature of scouting the cornerback position is different. And you're more inclined to say this guy can't do this and can't do that, and he's limited here and limited there. Whereas at receiver, you're more likely to say he can do this. He could just be a deep threat. He could just be a slot guy, and that's acceptable. But at corner, we can't. And I think it's a good corner class. So anyway, at the top of the cornerback class, Quinyon Mitchell and Terrion Arnold and Kool-Aid and Nate Wiggins, Cooper DeJean, however you want to fit him in, I think they're good. I think it's a good class. Is it enough that I would overtake Rome Odunze at receiver? I think a more valuable position.
Yeah,
I wouldn't do that. If we're talking the two needs are corner and receiver, one of the three we would consider blue chip type of players. Rome Odunze is still on the board. I would go receiver for the Giants through that lens. Now, whether Mike Clay is right or not, I mean, I still think offensive line is a need, and you have the top tackle on the board. That's what we did last week with Joe Alt. I think that's still in consideration, but I don't mind mixing it up just to do it.
Yeah, you've got to bear in mind that, a first-round corner in Deonte Banks last year, they're going to give him time as well, even though he didn't play particularly well as a rookie. It probably is a smaller need than it maybe looks on paper, depending on what you're using to populate that. I think you're right, though. The separator is, in any normal year, Rome Odunze might be the number one receiver in the draft, and they can get him at 6 as a third receiver in the draft. So I say take
Let's
him.
do it. Giants take Rome Odunze at 6. So finally, we get to have a Titans-Joe Alt marriage.
Yeah.
Where's their O-line right?
Titans also making moves. They traded for L'Jarius Sneed.
L'Jarius Sneed news this weekend, yeah.
Were
you surprised by the compensation? Basically a third and another pick exchange later, 2025 third.
Yeah, I mean, surprised my text to you was he must be looking to get like the largest contract in NFL history for that to be the compensation. Because obviously when you trade for players, you're trading for the player and the contract. And in the case of a guy that needs to be extended, you're trading for the negotiation, essentially, right? Like the Chiefs have a pretty good idea of what L'Jarius Sneed is asking for in contractual terms. So they are trading that away, not just the player locked down for whatever. So in order for them to take that, which is nothing, like it really isn't anything for a guy who could genuinely be argued to be in the top 5 corners in the NFL, to take that as compensation means his asks must be astronomical. And the Chiefs are either not at all optimistic that they can even get to where he wants to go contract-wise, or that, it's going to take the Giants essentially saying, or the Titans rather, essentially saying, yeah, cool, we'll pay you whatever just to get him in.
Yeah, there's a couple. Let's talk L'Jarius Sneed for a little bit here, since you already started. So, a couple things. I think the Chiefs have not been paying corners over the last couple of years. Sure. Travarius Ward was I thought, a really undervalued corner for them, and then he got paid by the 49ers and has continued to play really, really well. The other part about the Chiefs that I keep saying about the teams that have the quarterback locked up, you have a choice. You have only so many, let's call them $20 million cap numbers that you can carry, right? In the Mahomes era, in the Joe Burrow era in Cincinnati, in the Josh Allen era in Buffalo. And so they didn't want, I feel like they just didn't want to use one of those. They just paid Chris Jones a ton. You still have Joe Tooney making a lot of money. So you can only have so many. If Jawan Taylor is up there, you only have so many of these that you can use. And so to me, the Chiefs were just kind of leaning into their ability to develop corners and find contributors in the middle of the draft, which is what they got in L'Jarius Sneed. The other part I just wanted to add from a Chiefs perspective, and I know it's tough to do because you're just sitting here in 2024 looking forward. But I like to look at things holistically from what did L'Jarius Sneed do for the Chiefs? How incredible is this? They spent a 4th-round draft pick on him, found an absolute gem of a corner who, as you said, maybe ends up as the best man coverage corner in the NFL right now. You get 4 years of good play out of him, including 2 Super Bowls, and then you trade him for a 3rd, right? The holistic, like, what did we spend to acquire L'Jarius Sneed? A 4th. You got 4 years out of him, and then got a 3rd back. If you look at moves, I think through that lens, it's truly unbelievable. Now, it doesn't make you feel better about how are the Chiefs going to fill their cornerback depth chart going forward here. It doesn't solidify that, but I think it's one of those moves that if you keep doing that over time, it's great for the team. One other thing I'll add, and this is mostly in response to, again, we mentioned the late Eric Eager a lot, and he was talking about the cornerback market.
Also not dead.
Not dead, over at Sumer Sports. The cornerback market being suppressed a little bit and the defensive tackle or interior defensive line market going off. And I think he was likening it to a tactical move across the league. I would argue that the cornerback market is not hot right now because name the top 5 corners in the NFL. I don't think we have a clear top 5 corners in the NFL. Like Jalen Johnson just got paid by the Bears. By PFF standards, he has 1 elite season and a bunch of good seasons, right? Probably some underrated seasons by our grades, but some good seasons. Who are the top 5 corners? I think we're in an era where we don't know who the best corners are. So that's a big part of it. And the Titans it's a little risky, I would say. Let's go pay L'Jarius Sneed. We clearly think he's, top 2, 3, 4 corner in a world where, I don't know, the top 8, it might not be that big of a difference there.
I feel like Kansas City, at this point, value spending money on offense a little more than they do on defense. Like last year, you paired Patrick Mahomes with the best defense he's ever had, and you won a Super Bowl. On the other hand, knowing you have Patrick Mahomes, I think you're fairly bullish about what you can achieve on defense without a top 5, without a top 5 defense talent-wise.
Yeah.
So they had 2 defensive players hitting the market, hitting a big contract. They were probably only ever going to keep one of them, and they chose to keep Chris Jones. At which point, you don't really have the bargaining power to get maximum compensation, I guess, out of Sneed, because you're only. I mean, maybe I sort of feel like they could have done better than they did, but whatever. At that point, you're effectively advertising that this guy's not staying here. He's. I mean, immediately they tagged him. It was like they're tagging him to trade him. So he was being sent away. The Titans, on the other hand, have the money to spend because they have a ton of cap space. B, they don't have a quarterback tied up to big money. They've got Will Levis on cheap money, right? So they are in the same world as the 49ers right now where they've got a window to start throwing money at other guys on the roster for a few years until, assuming Will Levis is their guy, until, they have to pay him and then the whole dynamic changes again. So it makes sense in terms of Kansas City willing to give that guy up and Tennessee wanting to pay him the money that Kansas City doesn't. It's just the extremity of that, disparity where it results in really a genuinely tiny amount of compensation. For all the flack the Titans took for trading away A.J. Brown for, a first rounder and a third rounder because they didn't want to pay him, they just got a top 5 corner for nothing, for a mid-round pick.
I mean, I do really like this move from Tennessee's perspective. I wasn't trying to downplay the move. I wanted to see it from Kansas City's perspective. I get it. From Tennessee's perspective, hey, say what you want about are they ready to win or whatever. You're right. I mean, they have Will Levis for the next couple of years. And if Will Levis isn't the guy, then they move it on to another rookie contract quarterback so they can afford to pay some of these guys.
And obviously it's not, you just get, you have to pay him, right? But even if they give him a contract that makes him the best paid cornerback in the NFL, let's say they reset the market, this is the new best paid corner in the NFL. If you just said, if L'Jarius Sneed had signed this last year and come off the year that he just had, right? And you were just saying, this is who you're trading for now. You're trading for L'Jarius Sneed a year into his market-setting contract. like that would still be a good move for Tennessee. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's only I don't think that almost any deal they sign him to can change that outlook. Like this is a good move for the Titans, who bring in a top tier corner, knowing they're going to have to pay him, but they have the capacity to pay him. Like he just becomes one of their best paid players at one of the most important and valuable positions. It makes a ton of sense. And Kansas City just didn't want to go there.
The Titans also, I used to use that, where are their big money players? The same thing we said about the Chiefs.
Right.
There was a couple of years where it was in guys like Harold Landry and Bud Dupree, and it just felt like their big money players were the wrong guys. Now they're big money players. Say what you want about Calvin Ridley and his contract. Maybe it's a little bit too high, but at least it's in a receiver. You've got Jeffrey Simmons.
It's also not expensive cap-wise.
Yeah.
So their big money, like cap number this year, it's still Harold Landry is their highest cap number. Jeffrey Simmons, who signed a big extension,
but
and
Landry's
is
coming
their best player.
Closer to an end, right?
Sure. Jeffrey Simmons, who signed his extension and is their best player overall, right? So that makes sense. DeAndre Hopkins, who was huge in terms of giving Will Levis somewhere to go last year with the football. And then Calvin Ridley, who's only on the hook for $10 million in a cap hit this year, which, okay, contract looks fairly pricey for him, but $10 million as a cap hit for Ridley
for this year. I'm just saying those things will add up in the coming years. But
sure,
I prefer the money in those types of players. L'Jarius Sneed. They bring in Chidobe Awuzie, which I think is a nice
But remember,
buy low.
the 49ers going into this offseason had 5 guys over $20 million. The Titans have 2, and they have 2 more above 10. Yeah. Like the 49ers had another 5 or 6 guys above $10 million. So even if you add L'Jarius Sneed to this and give him a $25 or a $30 million cap hit, they're still A, in the right places, and B, on good players, and C, not that bad. Like they don't have that many guys with a big hit.
All right, so all that said,
offensive line.
That was a good. Well, no, that was a good one-off. Cut that as a one-off. L'Jarius Sneed to the Titans.
We've got to producing the thing.
Yeah, I'm just saying we have a separate video there. I'm just trying to help.
So according to Young Michael, their biggest need is actually tight end, which is
that's wrong though because Okonkwo is pretty solid.
Right. I don't quite understand or agree with that.
And also, when you itemize the offensive line rather than looking at it holistically,
yes.
We know that left tackle is the massive need. I've said before, Joe Alt.
Yeah.
I am running a 4-3 to the podium.
After
it's 40 yards away.
Debating it for 15 minutes.
If it's a 30-yard sprint, I'm still running 4-3 probably.
I think that's the only way you're running 4-3.
4-3-30.
Is if it's a 30-yard 40.
To the podium. Joe Alt to the Tennessee Titans. We needed to do the L'Jarius Sneed talk as a one-off for the YouTube channel.
Gotcha.
Right. Atlanta Falcons on the clock at 8.
Yeah. What's their biggest need?
The mock draft sim has it at defensive line.
I don't edge rusher.
Yeah, I mean it feels like it's been edge rusher since 2008.
Oh, I thought you were going to hit me with an administration.
Oh yeah, since
the Carter administration,
since pre-Obama. Pre-Obama, I think it's been.
That was the Bush administration.
The Bush administration. Yeah.
HW, right? No,
Which
W.
Bush?
W.
No, since the early 90s, actually.
Yeah, since the late 80s.
Since 91, since the Gulf War.
Since the first one.
First one, of course. So anyway, edge rusher for a while here for Atlanta.
Okay. Now.
This is where we get to play the game here.
What do we do with edge rusher?
The money, for people that put money on such things, the money is on Dallas Turner, the edge rusher from Alabama, to be the first defensive player off the board. And that is a very common mock draft selection. In fact, I believe even our friends Daniel Jeremiah and Mel Kiper Jr. may have both had Dallas Turner to Atlanta, coincidentally. And we might upset the apple cart here.
Well, here we go. Keep vamp for a little bit while I look something up, because I'm going to be writing about
Atlanta's edge rush situation right now. Arnold Ebiketie.
Yes.
Lorenzo Carter. D'Angelo Malone. Zach Harrison. Clearly, I think that's their biggest need. I don't know what Mike Clay has. The other thing I would say, if you just want a starting corner, so you have A.J. Terrell, the other cornerback position. You have Clark Phillips, the third, second-year player who's probably better fit in the slot. Mike Hughes, who is in the slot. So you could say starting corner. I could say corner and edge, comparable need here, I think, for the Falcons.
So Dallas Turner is, I think we brought this up before, that, and people shockingly misunderstood it a little bit. The Latu versus Dallas Turner in particular. Let's put Jared Verse off to the side for a second. But a lot of people, the Latu versus Turner thing is sort of, it feels a little bit like a a rerun of Aiden Hutchinson versus Trayvon Walker in terms of super athlete versus better production, right? Which isn't to say that the better production guy isn't also a good athlete, or that the super athlete doesn't have production. And in this case, they're closer to being crossovers than they were with Aiden Hutchinson versus Trayvon Walker, where Walker had no production but was the freakiest athlete the game had ever seen hit the NFL. But obviously Dallas Turner goes to the combine, does exactly what people thought he would do, jumped out of the gym, like crazy workout numbers, et cetera, et cetera. Meanwhile, Latu's production is like off the charts good. It's like right up there with kind of the Bosa's and the Chase Youngs of the world. Like it's right up there with that top tier of guys. It's better, right, than Will Anderson. The Will Anderson question a year ago was, he's clearly amazing. He's a blue chip. Is he quite where the Bosa's and Myles Garrett's and blah, blah, blah were? Anyway, long way around to saying, clearly Latu is the more productive player and the better, more complete technical pass rusher right now. And the only thing, medical aside, the only thing that would have you put Dallas Turner above him is Dallas Turner's combine and the workout numbers and all those kinds of things. And generally it's been framed as Latu being this substandard athlete, or at least just average athlete for the position. But using the magic of PFF gas.
Oh, you're bringing the gas to the show again.
Dallas Turner, over the last 2 years, has been in pretty much the same area, and they've been around 91st percentile PFF gas. Last 2 years for Latu, 97-1, 99-7.
Yeah.
So the gas says that actually Latu may not test like the best athlete in the world, but functionally on the field when he's moving around rushing the quarterback, this dude is a top-tier edge-rushing athlete. And when you combine that with the fact that he has off-the-charts production and maybe the most developed technical suite of pass-rushing moves we've seen hit the league ever, like since PFF has been great in college football, why would he not be your number one guy if you clear him medically?
Yeah, Latu's my number one guy. He's my number one guy. I think it's well explained. And I just want to go back over the last couple of years. I would say, now, over the last 3 years, we've had these same debates. I believe it was clear as day, Aiden Hutchinson over Trayvon Walker.
Yes.
Last year, Will Anderson versus Tyree Wilson. I believe clear as day, Will Anderson.
Yes.
This year,
it's close.
Latu versus Dallas Turner. It's not clear as day. I think it is much closer.
And verse.
Right? It is much closer. I would have Latu verse, and then we're talking probably Dallas Turner as third, fourth, right, for me. But to me, it's much closer. I think there's the 4 first-round edges, let's say. Trayvon Walker and Tyree Wilson were at a special level of unproductive over the course of their careers relative to other first-round edge rushers historically. In a different world, and I think we've seen that on the field that Trayvon Walker and Tyree Wilson so far, through 3 combined seasons for those 2 guys, have not lived up to the status of number 1 overall pick, number 7 overall pick. Dallas Turner is not at that level, so I don't mean to, we're not trying to disparage Dallas Turner.
No.
I think we're more trying to like prop up Latu, and in any other year, if there was never a medical retirement, for me, I mean, he's a clear top 10 guy.
Yeah, I feel like, so this logic has got me into trouble before, but I'm going to stick with it and say Dallas Turner is seen as the guy with the high upside and the potential, and because he's still, I think, quite raw as a pass rusher, right? He's much more limited than Latu is in terms of the variety of ways he wins and the number of different ways he can beat you, and the number of clubs he has in his bag in terms of being able to beat you pass rushing wise. And so people look at that and they say, I mean, this is great. Look, he's a super athlete, and he's only able to win these couple of ways. When we teach him, 2 or 3 more, well, now he's just amazing. It's like, yeah, but now if you teach him those 2 or 3 more ways, you'll get Latu. Why wouldn't you just take Latu, and then you don't have to do that, and you can, just go with the guy that's already really good? It feels a lot like the conversation with Joey Bosa when he came in, which is, is he already as good as he's going to get? To which the answer was, well, maybe, but that's Pro Bowl caliber right out of the box, right? Like the only thing that's impacted Joey Bosa's production has been injuries. In terms of is he already maxed out? Like he was already a Pro Bowler the second he stepped onto an NFL field. So if that's who Latu is, And again, I'm sort of putting a pin in the medical thing for a second because aside from anything else, I believe that's a binary deal, right? A team is looking at that. They're either clearing him. He's either on their board or he's not. No, like the medical thing is not dropping him half a round or whatever. Like he's just either on the board or he's not.
Well, when he drops half a round, that's because teams
right. So that's the element is how many teams are taking him off the board and would that impact him? But the teams that are not are viewing him as a clean, quote-unquote, prospect. So the teams that have him on their board should be looking at him and saying, I don't have a reason to not have him as a top 10 player and the best edge rusher on the board. Like, what is the reason? If you clear him medically, if your doctor comes in and says, the Washington guys are out of their minds, there's nothing wrong with this dude, he's good to go. If that's the medical sign-off, what is your argument for not having him go number 8?
It's just the tantalizing frame of Dallas Turner.
Right, but
that's it.
How?
I mean, I'm not making that argument.
In the range of outcomes, right? In
Yeah.
that range of outcomes, what percentile of Dallas Turner's range of outcomes would he need to hit for him to be better than Latu at the next level, based off the information we currently have?
Yeah, like I said,
it's got to be pretty high, right?
Yeah, like I said, I'm in complete agreement with you. I think Latu's the guy. I'm not going to pound the table for this one as much as we did in past years. I went out of my way to make the Aiden Hutchinson over Trayvon Walker point and make those points. I went out of my way to make Will Anderson over Tyree Wilson points. I put Tyree Wilson at 120 on my draft board to overemphasize that point.
To the cries of other people in the building.
Yeah, which was
cries of anguish.
Which wasn't low enough.
No, I know you got it right. I mean, what does the model say about these people?
All right, I'll give you some answers.
Thank you.
Latu's a blue.
There you go.
He's 95.
See?
He's a 95.
95. That sounds high.
95th percentile.
Where was Hutchinson or Will Anderson?
They were both high 90s. They're in the 90s.
Okay.
They're both blues. I mean,
But like 95.
I don't split hairs between 95, 97. That's not the point. I think being in the 90s
I was
and being
more
a blue, they were blues.
I was more like 95 is quite a long way from 90. You know, that's quite deep into the 90s.
I forget where Anderson was, somewhere in the 90s, but blues good. Blues the elite. So Will Anderson was a blue. Aiden Hutchinson was a blue. I've got Latu and Verse as blues.
Okay.
And Dallas Turner's at 65th percentile. So again, for comparison, Trayvon Walker, depending on how I ran it, was 40 or 50th percentile, and Tyree Wilson was in the 20s. And there was 0 players in the 20s who became solid players or better. There was no history of that. There was no history of an edge defender overcoming being in the 20th percentile of Steve's draft model.
Right.
It had never happened. A 65th percentile player, has a lower chance of a blue, but it's not egregious. But that's why I would take Latu reverse.
And just to give a slight shred of context to Latu, so his production has been pretty insane. Like he had a pass rush win rate last year of 26.2%, which is Myles Garrett territory of absurd. He's also been ridiculously good against the run, and his pressure rate was off the charts last season as well. The dude rushed the passer 300 times and had 62 pressures. That's a crazy rate. So incredible production, insane technician and variety of ways to win. And it turns out, according to PFF Gas, he might be the best athlete at the position as well, even if his 40 or his vertical isn't.
I like those odds. And I also think tactically the way Latu plays, I think he could be inside-outside. I think he can create mismatches against guards because of his technique. So.
Yeah.
All right, we're 45 minutes in. We're through 8 picks. We're taking Latu.
Long way around to saying Latu's the pick.
I mean, people tune in to hear us ramble about one-off specific subjects like Latu versus Turner.
That was information.
That was great information. Of course, we're giving a ton of information, which is great. So we might, I don't know if we're ever going to get to like specific edge rankings or not, or maybe we'll fly through them and not go into great detail, but that's the clip that you need. Why would we take Latu or even Verse over Dallas Turner? Those would be the reasons.
Right.
All right, Chicago Bears up on the clock at 9.
So
no longer need a quarterback. We already have Caleb Williams.
They don't need it. So defensive line or wide receiver. And I would say, wide receiver is not a need anymore, right?
Again, let's go back and define this thing called need.
Well, they have DJ Moore and Keenan Allen. You can't possibly call it a need.
I mean, yeah, if it's 1994 and you're a 2 wide receiver team and those are your starters. For me, I need 5 playmakers. I need 5
receivers.
No.
Stop.
No. Don't put words into my mouth. I said I need 5 playmakers. Playmakers.
DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, DeAndre Swift.
Maybe we're
Done.
there.
5.
Maybe
Gotcha.
we're there. I need 5 playmakers on my team. And I'm mostly thinking receivers and tight ends. So could you call that a need? Absolutely. Because, again, the nature of receiver. We'll find a way.
Can't call that a need.
Now, over defensive line? No. I think defensive line is a bigger need in isolation for the Chicago Bears. So, we just talked a lot about the edge rushers.
Yeah.
On my board, I would take Jared Verse, again, over Dallas Turner. That's what I would do. It's not a slam dunk, but I would do that. So,
also,
what would you do?
Well, so then if you want to, again, if you want to break it out versus the overall holistic view of defensive line, is actually interior a bigger need than edge? So they have at least Montez Sweat manning one edge spot, who is a good, solid, productive player. On the interior, they have the 2 guys they drafted last year. Did we ever figure out how you say, is it Gervin?
Oh, Dexter?
Yeah.
I've been using Gervin all the time. So
well, Gervin. The problem is, Gervin. It's too close to an Irish name that's different to that.
Gervon Dexter.
Gervin is Dempsey to me, and that's a different name. But anyway,
yeah,
Dexter.
I mean, you could argue in the
Zach
Bears
Pickens.
building, they're going to say we spent a second round and a fourth rounder, right? On Dexter and Pickens.
Now, there's been very little evidence, I think, so far from their tape that either one of them is going to be the answer and stop you drafting a guy. But you're then in the world of how high can you draft an interior defensive lineman in this draft?
Yeah, I mean, I think the edge complement opposite Montez Sweat is probably a bigger need anyway.
Ooh.
Doesn't that make the most sense? They also brought in DeMarcus Walker last year. He's more of a multi-gap, move him around type of guy.
I don't know that it's a bigger need, but I do think that in this world of, well, if they're both needs, it's better value at this spot to take versus Byron Murphy.
Again, we don't have to hit the biggest need. We just have to fill a need.
Look, we have to do it comically.
Oh, you want it to be funny at some point. All right.
Not funny.
I would go Jared Verse.
We're content creators here, Steve.
That's true. I'm not a GM. You're right. I'm not a GM yet. I can just make stuff up.
Yeah.
Maybe
content creation will get you a GM job, but till then, you're just out for your engagement farming. Is what you're doing right now.
Just engagement
right
farming.
now.
That's what we're doing. I would go Jared Verse.
Okay.
We're going to piss off a lot of people by putting Dallas Turner not in the top, 10, 12, 15, wherever he ends up landing. But
sure. I mean, look, this is the one area where I think, we get like our wide receiver rankings, right? You're going to piss them off every year because you're going to be low on Zay Flowers or Brian Thomas Jr. Everyone's going, you're an idiot. This is ridiculous. And in a lot of cases, they'll be right? We'll be wrong on these things. Turns out Jonathan Mingo's rookie season was pretty rough, right? I still have hope.
Let that be a lesson.
Still
to
have
never
hope.
be wrong.
Still have hope that Mingo will come good.
Yeah,
anyway,
it's only 1 year.
But the point being, you're going to be wrong on that. The one area where we've actually been pretty right has been when we've been very low on an edge rusher that everyone else is loving over the last few years. Our hit rate is pretty solid.
Yeah, I don't want the content to be unbalanced that we're that low on Dallas Turner, as I've said. He's fine. He's a good player. He's a good player.
He's just not the number one.
He's not completely on the no draft list. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Other guys were on,
Again, that was another one of your hyperbolic moments. It turned out to have been exactly on money for Tyree Wilson.
Let someone else
I
draft
would
him.
not draft Tyree Wilson.
Yeah.
And we tried to joke about that because, it's ridiculous. But, I mean,
just don't do it.
Don't draft him.
Yeah, I used to do fantasy drafts like that. Like, I know this guy's going to go in the top 50. I'm just not going to be the one taking him.
But you even meant it like I would just let somebody else take the risk, right? Whereas actually, if you had meant it as in he's not on my board, I don't think he's good enough to draft, it might have been accurate. Anywho, Jared Verse.
Take Jared Verse at 9 for the Bears?
Yeah.
Let's do it. Jared Verse.
Oh, I got to scroll quite a way to find him. Where is he? There he is.
I mean, that's Tyler's fault. Trevor's fault.
Tyler catching strays.
Not Tyler's fault.
Matt's out here trying
That's
to
not Tyler's fault. Trevor's fault for having him lower on the PFF
The Jets at number 10.
Really quick, if I could, the consensus draft board, NFL mockdraftdatabase.com.
Yes.
It's not a huge difference, but Dallas Turner at number 7, Jared Verse at 13, Latu at 17, and then Chop Robinson at 27.
I pulled up that consensus big board last week after all the the howls of ridicule we were getting for the wide receiver rankings to confirm that, like, there was 10 guys within like 15 picks of each other or whatever in the second round. You know what I mean? Like, there's a bunch of receivers between like pick 40 and pick 60, and everyone's like, you're an idiot for having them that far apart. Yeah. Like, they're all bunched together.
Ignore the noise, Sam.
Ignore the noise. I don't ignore the noise.
By the way, because we're already rambling quite a bit.
Yeah, sure.
I listened to, we had Bucky Brooks on. We had to check out the YouTube channel. Had a nice discussion with Bucky on Friday on the YouTube channel. Listened to Bucky Brooks, Daniel Jeremiah, their Move the Sticks pod the other day, and it was Bucky's top fives by position. How long, if you and I did a whole show and discussed your top fives at every position?
Yeah.
How long would our show be?
Hours. It would be all day.
Literally 6 to 8 hours, right?
Yeah.
And they knocked this out in an hour, and they were mostly telling combine stories. They were telling, like, take out to dinner stories, which you would have loved, because you loved stories of big humans eating a lot of steaks and everything, and Daniel Jeremiah had a great story about that. They just flew through their top five. Here's my top five, and here's, I moved this one guy up, and let's go to the next position. It was amazing.
Uh-huh.
I guess it's doable.
You want to take a quick question from the chat as another aside?
Yeah, let's just go. What else do I have to do?
Don would like to know, based off the juxtaposition of our current outfits, am I freezing or do you run cold? I'm here in a short sleeve.
You
rugby
must be
jersey.
cold because I think it's cold in here.
No, I'm not.
I feel like I'm thawing out here.
These things are thick, by the way. So
does this hoodie look really warm?
It does, yeah.
Yeah, it's very warm. It's warm. I appreciate the people at Sloan did not skimp on material.
No, they went for the full thickness.
Yeah, ESPN, Sloan animal.
I think these things are heavier. Like, this is a thick. The rugby jerseys are thick material, so it's potentially warmer than it looks, but it is short sleeved.
But your short sleeve. I usually don't rock the short sleeves until about mid-May in here.
Mid-May?
Mid-May through September.
You understand that this building is air-conditioned, and therefore it
yeah, I'm saying it usually coincides with my outdoor.
Right, but the interior temperature is the same year-round. Like, it's not changing.
No, I understand. I adjust my gear based off what's happening outside. My gear, my uniform.
Okay.
But I'm pretty comfortable.
While we're on the tangents.
Going. Why not?
Where are you drafting Louis Rees-Zammit, the rugby player, based off his workout numbers?
Somebody emailed us about that.
Really? I didn't see that.
About him going over someone like Dallas Turner. And I'm over there like, I don't know. It was like some ridiculous. Like, is he getting drafted over somebody really high? And I was like, shoot, I don't know. He's not on my board. I was like, what did I miss?
Where is he on the model?
Did I miss somebody? I have to. Sixth round.
Sixth round.
Yeah.
What percentile is he? Where does the model have him on? What
Give
color?
me his numbers.
Give me a color.
Give me his numbers.
So he's six. I didn't get an official height on him, but he was listed at 6'3", and I don't think rugby lies the same way colleges do. So let's call him 6'3".
Yeah.
209 was his weight. He ran his
it's gonna run into my head.
His 240 times were 4.50 and then 4.44.
What position are we playing him at?
Wide receiver / running back / pure special teamer.
Okay. Let's see. I need a receiver with no production historically.
Yeah.
So Dorial Green Beckham would be a guy. We don't have any production numbers.
Wow.
But we have a combine.
And he ran about a 4.5 flat, right? Didn't he?
Yeah, he was a 35th percentile guy.
Yikes.
According to last year's model.
And then
4.49.
There you go. See?
Yeah.
I got that one right. Can't remember Jamar Chase,
6'6",
but I can remember
235.
Can't remember Jamar Chase, but I can remember Dorial Green Beckham's
6'8", cone for DGB.
Oh, so now here's where we get into trouble with Louis Rees-Zammit, is a 29-inch vertical, and then I think it was a 9'7" broad jump. Those are both not great numbers.
What's 9'7"? I have it at so we had 119 broad for DGB and a 33.5-inch vertical, which isn't bad. I'm still mesmerized by this. I think I got up to 32 in the vert. There's no way I'm that close to these NFL players. I mean, I was pretty explosive for 6'10". All right, sorry. So DGB comp, 35th percentile. How's that? I'll round it down a little bit. 29th percentile.
Yeah.
Beautiful mind calculating it.
The question, so he's taken visits. He's been to the Browns and the Jets, I think, were two of the three teams I saw mentioned. I'm curious to see if he gets drafted. I mean, forget like how high, blah, blah. To me, it's like, does he get drafted?
You do that to avoid the bidding war, right?
Yeah.
If there's a bidding war.
The visits are kind of meaningless, but I'm curious, does he actually get drafted? Obviously, Jordan Mailata got drafted, right, in the same kind of pathway thing, same idea. Went from nowhere to, but he's a singular freak athlete, like absolute monster, 6'8", and could run like
just
he
an
ran.
amazing value to just steal a rugby player and make him into one of the best tackles.
But my point being, from literally like the dude didn't know the game in the space of a couple of months, he actually got drafted in the 7th round, right? The Louis Rees-Zammit thing, his problem is he's not like a singular freak athlete. Like he was in rugby, he was one of the fastest guys in the game, and apparently that's translated to at best a 4.44 and some pedestrian-ish explosive numbers. Now, how much of that is technique and just learning how to vertical jump, et cetera, technique-wise? But whatever, you can't look at him and say the same things as you were saying for Jordan Mailata, which is there's like a couple of those guys walking around the world, right?
Right.
There's quite a lot of those guys, Louis Rees-Zammit, size and speeds in this draft alone, let alone any other one.
There's a lot of those players at like the FCS level
that
don't even get training camp. I mean, they get training camp opportunities, but don't really make it. That's a challenge.
Yeah, so it's like
we'll need gas. We need gas for him.
I don't know where you're getting that from.
We're gonna get gas going for.
Contact Derek. He's got the tape. Fire that through the system.
We're gonna have to talk to the rugby company that we're in contact with. Get those numbers, and then we'll see. We'll plug.
So I'm curious, does he get drafted? I think the most likely pathway for him is training camp, onto the practice squad as one of those, exempt extra spaces they get, and then we see next year if he's actually capable of sticking on a team.
Yeah, that feels like an uphill battle.
Yeah,
uphill climb.
But he gets a year. My point being, if you had to do all of that in the space of a summer, that feels pretty unlikely.
Oh yeah, you need the practice squad here. All right, we got the Jets on the clock at 10. As we wrap up our number 1 PFF NFL podcast. Jets' biggest need. Again, how do we want to define this? Is it still offensive line, even though they brought in Tyron Smith and Morgan Moses?
Tight end.
They're the first team where it's like, could be safety.
Could be safety.
We're not picking a safety here.
Well, you got to assume.
It could be tight end. I mean, technically, depth chart-wise, you have Tyler Conklin there. You have Jeremy Ruckert. You have players there.
Yeah, I feel like tight end is quite a need. Their offensive line currently on paper is Tyron Smith, John Simpson, Joe Tippmann, second-year player, Elijah Vera-Tucker, and Morgan Moses. Theoretically, that's okay as a starting 5. It's not a need, I don't think. Glaring need, at least.
Similarly, you wouldn't call receiver a need now with Garrett Wilson and Mike Williams.
Correct.
And then the great Corey Davis.
So.
Steve's mic just went out, so if you can answer me for a second.
Oh, sweet. Apparently Steve's microphone just died right here on the show, live. So I agree. I don't think offensive line is a need anymore, the way you would typically know need to be. I don't think wide receiver is a need anymore because Mike Williams, Garrett Wilson, Alan Lazard, and then the young guys, Jason Brownlee, Xavier Gibson. I do think you could argue tight end is a need. Tyler Conklin hasn't really been the guy. Now, maybe he looks different with Aaron Rodgers throwing him the ball, but I still think he could be seen as a need. I think you're right. Safety could look like a need. Tony Adams, Chuck Clark, that's a fair weakness, all right.
My back, is it working?
Corner, definitely not a need. Defensive line, definitely not a need. So I think you're down to safety versus tight end. We're going to have to actually make a call on this without you being able to say anything. So do you agree that those are the
tight end?
Nice.
The Brock Bowers pick is a good one.
There we go. So I think you're right. It's safety versus tight end, and at this point, it has to be tight end. So Brock Bowers is going to be the pick for the Jets.
My voice projects because it feels like I could just use your mic.
Yeah, it's catching W's left, right, and center here. I'm really glad you're a loud human now.
Might be a good time to tell people to hit the thumbs up button in YouTube.
Yeah, hit the thumbs up button and help us buy a microphone for the studio.
AG1 ad?
Oh God, no, not without warning. That's not an easy. Do we have a different read that we could read?
Nope.
No. MDS. Well, now's the perfect time, since we're using the Mock Draft Sim, to go to the Mock Draft Sim and use the promo code 30MDS, 30MDS, to get yourself 30% off any PFF Plus subscription and mock draft to your heart's content. You could do exactly what we're doing. You could ruin your team in the space of 7 hours by drafting only for need, or you could actually draft the best players available and fix the team. So that's what I would do. 30MDS as your Mock Draft Sim promo code. How long do you think I'm going to need to speak solo before we go in a different direction in this podcast?
Still dead over here, huh? Did I? Wait. Is it a plug thing?
Maybe we could do
Anything?
it. Maybe we could do it Super Bowl style and just
Bueller?
sit uncomfortably
Bueller?
close, right next to each other. And we should definitely do it to where you're closer to the camera, so I look like I'm 3. Right next.
No, I'm not coming over to sit next to you. See, it's fixed. It was the plug.
It's fixed.
Yeah,
There you go.
I kicked the plug.
You kicked the plug. Perfect.
I think I knocked it loose. It was very fragile. Yikes. We're
There,
back.
yeah,
Did we take Brock Bowers?
The guy that built this studio once said that we were just scratching the surface of professionalism in this building.
Still are.
I don't think we're even scratching it anymore. I think somehow we're moving further away from the
We've
surface of professionalism.
We've moved in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
Eli, how are you doing back there? You okay?
We used to be.
We're good. I'm back. I may have kicked it.
Are you sure you're back? Where are you getting that from?
The chat's telling me I'm back.
Oh, the chat's telling you you're back.
Yeah.
Okay. I just never got. Tyler was the one that alerted me to.
Someone begged us not to take Bowers, too.
Oh, it's a bit late. It's Scotty though. Scotty is the new Walt in terms of just being a curmudgeon contrarian in the chat.
All right, let's
Man's come late on the rails and is busy just dumping on every pick we make.
I want to take a quick break to ask Eli, how are you doing? Because we did get a text from Tyler saying it was a rough morning from a text perspective here.
It's only getting rougher.
You're okay? I apologize that I made it worse. I will buy you something from your place there. We'll get you a snack.
Brown Bear.
We
We used to be scratching the surface of professionalism. Now we're desperately reaching out and coming short of scratching the surface.
can't even
of
see professionalism
Yeah.
at the moment. Vikings are on the clock, Sam, at pickle. So we took Bowers to the Jets. My apologies if you don't want that pick, but it's going to be like 75% of mock drafts are giving the Jets.
If you don't want that pick, this is going to be a rough month for you.
Yeah.
You're going to see it everywhere.
It's going to be a rough month. It's a
Minnesota
good one.
Vikings, number
you sign
11.
one Mike Williams, Brock Bowers immediately becomes the pick.
Yeah.
Vikings are on the clock. They need a quarterback. They've got the 2 picks. We're taking a quarterback.
J.J. McCarthy, right?
It's taking JJ.
Taking J.J. Uncomfortably large scroll down to where J.J. is.
There is quite the groundswell
For JJ
McCarthy, and it is not just on the field. I think you're getting a lot of ticking all the off-field boxes, and people like them, and the whole thing.
Well, it's also
Good
one of
steak
these-
dinners. It's all happening.
It's
right
also
now.
one of these that comes around every now and again where the people that are connected to the NFL, the people that are plugged in, the people that talk to scouts, coaches, GMs, yada, yada, those people are all saying the NFL loves this guy way more than everyone else does, which might all be smoke at this point. We're in lying season, but it also might be true that for some reason the NFL just sees more in him than everyone else does.
Yeah, and it's not just Jim Harbaugh.
Not just Jim Harbaugh.
It's others too.
Maybe Jim wasn't crazy when he said he's the best player in the draft.
Maybe he's not. So we're at a 3-pick mix here, Sam, that we think is one of the most challenging spots, right? When we play GM for the Vikings, the Broncos, and the Raiders,
Yeah.
we're always debating QB4 and trade-ups and how do you leapfrog the other team. The next 3 quarterbacks on the board are some order of J.J. McCarthy, Bo Nix, and Michael Penix Jr. In this needs-based mock, do we just fill the quarterback needs in that order?
Minnesota desperately needed a quarterback, took one.
They're taking J.J. McCarthy officially.
Denver Broncos, their current quarterback depth chart is Jarrett Stidham and then Ben DiNucci. That sounds like a quarterback need to me. Even though, who was it I sent you a text, said that Sean Payton had won with worse quarterbacks than Jarrett Stidham?
I don't know where that came from.
I'm gonna need a list of those quarterbacks.
You would have to go back. I can't. So here we go.
Unless he meant just like one-off games with Taysom Hill.
Yeah. I mean, Sean Payton won with Teddy Bridgewater. When Drew Brees, that was the thing. When
Teddy's better than Stidham.
I agree. When Drew Brees went down, remember they kept winning.
Yes.
And
That's what I mean.
Teddy Bridgewater went 5-0, and there was this perception that Sean Payton can win with anyone.
Right.
And then they had Jameis the next year, and he got hurt, and it kind of fell apart a little bit.
He did
Right?
have
Was
a
that the year?
ridiculously good record with very bad on paper quarterbacks outside of Drew Brees, but it sort of feels very isolated to that small sample size.
I think you have to go back to 2003 Dallas Cowboys when he was the offensive coordinator. I mentioned Chad Hutchinson. Was he even there? Was it that year?
Hutchinson?
Yeah, Chad Hutchinson. Nope, he only played one game that
Anyway,
year. So he
point
won
being-
some games with Quinn. He went 10. Yeah, so if you want to back up that statement,
Yeah.
has he won games, a lot of games with a quarterback?
Quincy?
Yeah,
Quincy Carter?
a quarterback worse than Jarrett Stidham.
The Quincy Carter era was fun.
Quincy Carter. Remember Dallas they kind of went in on him.
Yeah.
They were like, he's our guy.
Right.
Second rounder. And I was a young draft analyst. I was in college.
Yeah.
Just a baseball player.
Right.
I was thinking, I don't know if I love Quincy Carter. He was like a 50% completion percentage guy in the SEC. Those guys didn't really tend to pan out. But in 2003, 16 starts for Quincy Carter.
Yeah.
They went 10-6.
There you go.
So that statement that you were poo-pooing in a text message to me.
Turns out it's true.
Quincy Carter had a passer. He had 17 touchdowns, 21 picks, passer rating of 71.4.
Yikes. That's not great.
And they went 10-6 that year.
Yeah.
2003.
Well, so okay. Then if that's true, the question becomes, do they even have a quarterback need? They got Jarrett Stidham in the building.
Jarrett Stidham. It could be like 2003 Quincy Carter.
I believe they do have a quarterback need with Jarrett Stidham as their number one quarterback. Would you agree?
Yes.
Okay, then Bo Nix.
Taking Bo Nix here for the Broncos, and you're gonna do the same depth chart analysis on the Raiders.
So, well, the Raiders are claiming themselves that Aiden O'Connell has earned the right to compete for the starting job. So they're the ones saying we might not have a quarterback need.
That's not what they said.
That is what they said.
No, they said Aiden O'Connell has earned the right to compete for the starting quarterback job. That's literally what they
I
said.
just said.
Right. That doesn't mean they don't have a quarterback need.
That's exactly
Do
what
you
it is.
understand coach speak and
That's
GM
exactly what it
executive
is. So-
speak yet?
So their quarterback depth chart now is Aiden O'Connell, who has earned the right to compete for the starting job, Gardner Minshew, who just signed for $15 million a year, and then somebody else that's not going to make the roster. What?
Per year?
Yeah, I think so, right?
15?
$15 million a year. I'm pretty sure. You got to make me look that up.
That's starter money now. That's like low-end starter money.
Starter money.
I mean,
Get
it's
outta
not, but it's the highest of high-end backup money.
That's what I'm saying. So you've now got a highest of high-end backup money and a guy. Yeah, 2 years, $25 million with 15 guaranteed, an annual salary of 12 and a half.
That's 12 and a half. That's
Whatever.
not 15. Listen, it's still a need. Now, could you say with the Raiders, we're going to get something in the second pick, the second round?
Yes.
Right. If the draft literally falls like this, and Bo Nix is the fifth quarterback off the board in the top 12, you could definitely say to yourself, you know what, Michael Penix Jr., will he be around at pick 44 when we're picking again? Let's take those chances.
You can also point to various other glaring needs on the team and say, like, this team desperately needs something else. Like their top corner is Jack Jones, who was dumped from a team for being an off-field
Don't mention
concern,
it. It doesn't matter.
and is now in Vegas.
I understand. They
In
still
Vegas,
need.
Las Vegas.
I get it.
Party capital of the world.
I know. You mention it every
Ticking
time we're
time
up
bomb.
on the clock and we're talking about corners.
Ticking time bomb.
We don't need to project that on. You still need a corner, whether Jack Jones is there or not.
Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Nate Hobbs in the slot. He's good, but they need a corner.
All right, so we're going to forget the quarterback need here. Not because they said Aiden O'Connell can compete for the job, which is just executive speak for like, okay.
Well, it's a bigger
okay,
need.
he can compete.
It's genuinely a bigger need, right? If they had to go into this season with Gardner Minshew and Aiden O'Connell as a 1-2 punch at quarterback, it would maybe be okay-ish. The corner thing, if they had to go into the year with Jack Jones, Jacorian Bennett, Nate Hobbs, that feels worse. Also, their top running back right now is Zamir White, for what that's worth.
Take a run. Let's go corner. I would go the top corner on the board here.
All right.
Is Terrion Arnold, I asked you this before, Terrion Arnold going to be your CB1 or Quinyon Mitchell?
I think Terrion Arnold over Quinion Mitchell will be my top corner.
All right. Somebody in the chat said BPA. No, it's not. We're not doing BPA.
Yeah,
here.
you've missed.
It's not allowed. It's team need. We're filling needs.
Missed the premise.
That's it. It's gonna be the most. It's gonna be the best mock draft ever. Every fan's gonna be happy because team needs are filled. Terrion Arnold for the Raiders here.
Yeah, though I don't know. I worry a little bit about him in that scheme, but I think he's the best corner.
Do you want to go Mitchell then? In that system? I'm fine with Mitchell. Let's mix it up. We gave him Arnold last week, didn't we?
Okay. You want to give him Mitchell?
Quinion Mitchell.
All right.
Multiple grades of 90 plus PFF, plus incredible athleticism. Dude can play.
Dude can
Early
play.
model identifier.
When was the last time Toledo had a pick that high?
Bruce Gradkowski.
That high?
I'm just kidding. I don't know.
Yeah.
Toledo, it would be Lance Moore come out of there?
Yeah.
But he wasn't drafted
He was
high.
Bruce's receiver.
Was he?
They're buddies.
Lance.
Yeah.
Who else was drafted high out of Toledo?
Nobody. Ever.
Text Bruce. Quinion Mitchell. That good?
I don't mean to disparage the
We're
the
merely
people
trying
of
to
Toledo.
remember
Bruce.
the last time.
What do we got here? I'm just looking at draft picks from Toledo, and I don't know any of their names.
I liked Trayvon Hester.
Deontay Johnson. Kareem Hunt.
Deontay Johnson was a third rounder.
Yeah, these are third rounders. John Greco, third round. Nick Kazur, third round. First rounder. Dan Williams, Denver Broncos, 1993.
What position? D tackle?
D end.
D end.
Now that's 1993 D end. Who knows what that actually is?
Yeah, it's like a 300-pound. All right, let's go. Quinion Mitchell to the Raiders. Congrats to the Toledo Rockets. Almost said Mudhens.
Mudheads?
It's a
What the
triple
hell is that?
AAA team.
Mudheads.
Mud Hens.
Mud hens.
Hens.
Because that makes much more sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
Saints are up. Saints' biggest need here at pick 14.
D-line, right? Is it still?
We really need to update our needs here. We have QB as their top need. What's going
The
on?
Saints?
Like on the mock draft simulator. Why is QB the top need?
That just feels like Timo doesn't like Derek Carr.
Yeah, Timo. Come on, man.
D-line, we've got, they signed Chase Young. They've got Carl Granderson still, who's good and ascending. Cameron Jordan reaching the end of his lifespan on the D-line, not generally. Nathan Shepard, Brian Brzee on the interior. Kalen Saunders, like interior is a need, right? Are they the first D tackle team?
D tackle might be a need. I think tackle's still a need, depending on how you're looking at this. You're just giving, on one hand, year 3 offensive linemen like Trevor Penning probably need an opportunity to break out. I keep bringing up this potential misinformation that Ryan Ramczyk is considering retirement and has degenerative knees.
I mean, I think he's reaching the end regardless. So, but it's not a need for this year, probably.
Okay.
But the left tackle thing is, number one, you've got Trevor Penning, who they're going to give the chance to do it this year, almost certainly. Number two is, even if he couldn't, like James Hurst was better at left tackle than Penning was, and was actually pretty solid. So you're almost set at left tackle. It's left guard would be the problem if you're moving James Hurst.
Well, we're not taking a guard here.
You could take Fontenot and just hedge.
Yeah, both.
Either or.
A flexible offensive lineman like Fontenot.
You just take a left-sided player. He's gonna fix one of our left-sided problems.
I don't hate that as a.
I mean, is that a bigger need than D tackle, where it's basically if Brian Brzee doesn't take a big step forward, they're kind of boned?
They drafted Brzee in the first last year, though.
Yes.
So I don't think they're going to view it as such. Colin Saunders and Nathan Shepard are fine. They're solid players. Brzee, I mean, that's like a decent. I could see them viewing that as a decent depth chart going into this year. We're not a massive need.
I mean, if we're saying Trevor Penning needs to be replaced, and Brian Brzee hasn't shown you anything more than Trevor Penning, albeit on less.
He was only 1 year as a developmental player too. Brzee is what I saw from him. I mean, would you? There's a lot of talk about Marshawn Lattimore being on the trading block. That would open up a starting spot as well at corner.
Yeah, but he isn't at the moment.
That has not happened yet.
Until he's gone, you can't say it's a need. So it's D tackle or Fontenot.
I like the idea of the versatile offensive lineman that fills a couple. I just think offensive line was an issue last year regardless, and adding a body who could play 2 different positions, I think makes a lot of sense.
Well, their biggest problem, honestly, is that the players that they sort of they keep locking down players that play consistently poorly on the offensive line. So on the one hand, you're like, well, that's a glaring need. On the other hand, they keep signing them to long-term deals and being like, we're set. No, because they did it before with Cankles. What's his name?
Andrews Pete.
There you go, Andrews Pete.
You can't call him Cankles just because one offensive line coach referred to him as having cankles.
And that was the thing that was going to hold him back at the next level. And it turns out he was dead on.
Hindsight.
Andrews Pete's cankles meant that he was never a good player, and yet for some reason the Saints gave him like a $45 million contract.
Can we pick Fontenot?
Yeah.
For him? Troy Fontenot from Washington going to the Saints at 14 to compete at left tackle.
And or guard.
In this needs-based mock.
All right.
I haven't looked at the chat yet. They must be upset. Got to be upset. Has to be.
Pick number 15, the Indianapolis Colts. Now, here's a tough one for needs.
They've done a pretty good job of filling the starting spots.
What I also mean in terms of like they have a whole bunch of as yet unproven athletic freak shows that could all be seen as needs and or solutions.
Yeah, it's another interesting one. Again, I will repeat, I still think the corners are so unproven that they're needs, but they're all in their first or second year.
So here's an interesting team for the terrible argument that you were trying to make for the Chicago Bears. I think you have a much better case here, where the Colts have Michael Pittman Jr., who they re-signed long-term. They have Josh Downs, who they drafted last year and looked pretty useful as a slot guy. But then Alec Pierce is their number 2 receiver. Here, I think you could look at it and say, we have 1.5, maybe 2 wide receivers. Wide receiver is still a need.
Now, in this mock, do you want to go consensus board and say Brian Thomas Jr. is the next guy on the board? Ooh. I don't care where you have him ranked. But I would also say the complement of him to Michael Pittman Jr. I kind of like the idea of Thomas as a vertical field stretcher, Michael Pittman Jr. being the uber possession type, and Josh Downs being your slot. Brian Thomas Jr.'s better version of Alec Pierce, potentially here.
You would hope.
You would hope. You want to do that?
Okay.
Because why not? You said you wanted funny. This is funny to you, but, kind of chalk for a lot of others.
Yeah, this would make sense. He is. This is where his skill set belongs if it works at the NFL level.
We're trying to do right by Anthony Richardson, so let's do that. Brian Thomas Jr., LSU receiver, going at pick 15.
There you go.
To the Colts.
Need.
I think he fits the athletic profile that the Colts would want as well.
Yes, absolutely.
Seattle Seahawks next on the board.
Yep.
Now, Fontenot was going to be the guy there. Supposedly, Mike McDonald said we don't want to draft guards in the first round. I'm secondhand information here. So
doesn't sound like something they would say out loud.
Doesn't sound like it. I think edge has been a massive need for the Seahawks for a few years now, but they have bodies there.
Yeah, it's another one of these. Uchenna Nwosu is okay. Boye Mafe took a step forward last year. They're both solid. Neither one of them is a superstar. Then you've got Darrell Taylor, Derek Hall, who they drafted. It's definitely...
They've spent a lot of, 3 second-round picks over there in the last 4 or 5 years?
It's definitely... You're right. They've added people. It's just none of them have really done what they needed them to.
Most of the holes are on the offensive line. Depending on what you think of Oluwatimi, second-year player, who's the center out of Michigan, you could argue there's a starting center out there in the first round.
It's hard to look at this and not think that guard or interior period is a need.
So what we have right now is McClendon Curtis, Oluwatimi, Anthony Bradford.
Yes.
Nick Harris as a backup center. But those are the 3 starters on the interior for Seattle.
Yeah, it's difficult to look at that and not conclude that the interior of the offensive line is the biggest need on this team.
So with that in mind,
there's
now
another
tackles,
team, by the way, where safety could be.
Yeah, but there's just no safety on the board.
Friend of the show, Julian Love, obviously there.
There's no safety on the board here. Sure. So it's interesting that the tackles keep falling.
Yep.
In this needs-based draft because you're considering positional value a little bit less in that world.
Uh-huh.
There's none of the tackles right now. Fuaga, Fashanu, J.C. Latham. J.C. Latham, you liked him as a guard.
Yeah, so that's what I was going to ask.
Mims.
Which of these guys, because this happens reasonably regularly, are there tackles that you would take and kick them inside, at least to start their career?
I think J.C. Latham could do that. Someone else pointed out to me that Abe Lucas might have long-term injury concerns. It was just spoken to me. I don't know anything about that. So
you're just a whole world of hearsay today.
A lot of hearsay with Seattle. That's what we do. So I don't know. Is J.C. Latham a guy that you could bring in there and put him in a guard? It's not going to look right in our needs-based mock without a little explanation. Yeah, we're going to put Latham at guard.
Sure.
It's easier to say Jackson Powers Johnson because Oluwatimi was a 6th rounder, 5th rounder last year. You're not necessarily saying, of course, he's going to be the starter.
Yeah,
with his 191 career snaps.
We joke though that the graphic is better when you have no context and you're just throwing it out there.
Oh, we're content creators.
Yeah, exactly. So it's Jackson Powers Johnson versus J.C. Latham and play him at guard.
I would just stick with Jackson Powers Johnson.
You coward.
Yeah. JPJ.
JPJ.
To the Seahawks at 16.
16. It's rich for center.
Is it? Yeah, it is.
I mean, it is. It's not unprecedented. Like, wasn't the what the hell is his name? The Jets All-Pro perennial.
Nick Mangold.
Yeah. Nick Mangold was
13.
drafted around there, right? Somewhere in that area.
Did I do it again, Eli? Am I out?
No, I think he was just trying to help me, and then you got there first.
He was going to yell out Mangold.
Right.
All right, what's up next here? Who's next?
Oh, no,
Jacksonville.
He was drafted at pick number 29.
Oh, we're reaching for a center. Sorry. It's in. We're reaching. JPJ.
Ragnow. There you go. Top
Ragnow
20.
was top 20. Pouncey was what, 20, 21?
Yeah. There's been some center drafted around the 15.
We're reaching for a center. What are you going to do? Can't undo it now on Mock Draft Monday. Jacksonville Jaguars up at pick 17.
Okay.
Another team that needs a little
Corner.
offensive line help. Corner, you could say. I mean, they brought in the rent-a-corner, Ronald Darby, right? Isn't he there?
Rent a corner.
Yeah, he's the new Prince of Mukamara. Nobody has any idea what any of that means.
No, they don't.
Don't lose energy. Keep the energy up here.
I'm just
We're
trying.
halfway through.
I'm searching for.
I'm talking to myself, but we're halfway through the first round here.
There has to have been a center taken.
You have Ronald Darby and Tyson Campbell. Campbell's probably due to get paid at the end of this year. You just forget the center thing.
Pouncey was 18, and somebody else was 18 as well. Garrett Bradbury was 18.
Oh, there we go.
That's rough.
The offensive line for Jacksonville it's one of those, I was describing it on Jacksonville radio the other day, when you have an on-paper creep back toward average offensive line,
Yeah.
it's fine on paper, but as you've made the point before, if you hit the low end of outcomes, of the range of outcomes for those players, like if Brandon Scherff is really getting too old, and Ezra Cleveland has another season like last year, which was worse than what he'd done previously, Mitch Morse is just okay, Anton Harrison at right tackle doesn't develop in year 2, it looks bad.
Yeah.
But you could also play the other side of that, where it's like Cleveland's played better,
Right.
Morse has been solid, Scherff has been better. And Anton Harrison takes a step forward in year 2, then they're solid. But offensive line could be something to look at here.
Yep. O-line, definitely.
One more year of Cam Robinson, you could do a future proofing of tackle. You could again.
Nah, you
call
can't
that a
future
need.
proof when we're taking needs.
That's a
Can't
need.
do it. It's not a need. You can't.
a
Future
need.
proofing is not a need. A need is
Need
day
does not
one starter.
imply acute needs.
It does.
Long-term needs.
That's exactly what it applies. That's the
There's
whole
a
point.
reason why acute is a descriptor.
That's the whole point in this show, is that it's acute needs that need to be
It's not
filled.
the acute needs show. The title is
That's
Team
only-
Needs Mock Draft.
That's
the
only
team
'cause-
needs a tackle. It just needs it in a year.
That's only because acute is not hitting any key words for us. Otherwise, it would be. Acute was
Acute's
taken
not
for red.
good for SEO.
Acute was taken for red. No, it's not. Acute is not good for SEO. You're getting nothing out of that. Nothing.
What else do we need? I would
So-
still take another edge. I still
but
think they need edge.
It's not. Josh Allen is there, so it's not a need.
Josh Allen, Trayvon Walker, and the movable Eric Armstead.
Yes, the movable.
Movable chess piece. So what is the need here?
Well, that's the thing.
They have starters everywhere.
They're like 75% set everywhere.
Let me ask you this. Needs mock draft.
Oh God.
Since the end of the year, has Jacksonville gotten better? It's like Gabe Davis for Calvin Ridley.
No.
It's Ronald Darby for Darius Williams.
Yeah.
It's Eric Armstead for
Eric Armstead upgrades.
an upgrade, you know.
But that's it, right?
Mitch Morse at center over
Mitch
Luke
Morse
Fortner.
upgrades them. So minor upgrade there, minor upgrade in the Eric Armstead position, probably minor downgrade from Darius Williams to Ronald Darby, and minor downgrade from to Gabe Davis, even though I think stylistically that might be a better compliment. So maybe that's not a downgrade, it's just a lateral move. So if they did, it's a very small step forward.
If you're going to – it feels like a bit of a push with just different players.
Yeah.
If you're going to make the J.C. Latham argument for Seattle, you could do that here. I know he was a right tackle in college, but he could come in and compete at left guard with Ezra Cleveland and maybe be the future left tackle as well. Or the future right tackle with Anton Harrison moving back to the left side. You make the argument for J.C. Latham.
Is this is interior, actually, defensive tackle the biggest need? Is this another defensive
that's a good
tackle
one.
spot?
Okay, there we go.
Byron Murphy.
Okay, so Roy Robertson Harris. I always say that every time. Robertson Harris, but it just wants to put the son on top. It's also my son's name. Maybe that's it.
Maybe.
Roy Robertson Harris, Devon Hamilton, and whatever you think of Eric Armstead as interior players.
Yeah.
But they could use the undersized penetrator or smaller penetrator.
I feel like defensive tackle is the biggest need here. So who's your top defensive tackle off the board? Our model says
Byron Murphy.
There you go.
Byron Murphy the second. Let's take
The
Byron.
second.
The second. 2. Byron Murphy 2.
And he's not.
To the Jaguars.
He's not undersized, right?
No, he's not like 6'7". Roy Robertson Harris is 6'7". Eric Armstead 6'7". He's what, 6'2"? Murphy 6'2", 200, 203, 305, 300, 305.
6 foot and a half, 297 at the combine.
Yeah, that's undersized.
That's 10 pounds lighter than he was listed at Texas.
Yeah, see, undersized. Not as undersized as Newton, right?
Right.
Bengals are up on the clock at pick 18.
Bengals. Tight end. Their biggest need. Can't take a tight end here.
Oh, now you can't.
Well, because we just drafted Brock Bowers.
He's the only first-round tight end. So, yeah, we're not just filling a tight end spot here. Is tackle still a need, even though it's not acute?
You signed Trent Brown. You got the Browns. The Browns.
Trent's here for a year.
Yeah. So it's not a need. Done. Next.
It's a need.
Nope.
You're out of your
Day
mind.
one starter. Day one starter, or we're not doing it.
So defensive tackle still a need for them. They brought in Sheldon Rankins. You have BJ Hill.
BJ Hill. Yeah.
Newton's you're not replacing DJ Reader, body type or anything in the first round, in nose tackle type.
Right.
But defensive tackle, I still think they could use help there.
Corner, potentially. You've got Cam Taylor-Britt and DJ Turner now, who didn't have a good rookie year, despite the model loving him.
Yeah, he wasn't great in year one.
Safety, they got Von Bell. They brought in Geno Stone, a free agency. Dax Hill is still there.
Yeah, they attacked safety this offseason.
Running back, they brought in Zach Moss to replace Joe Mixon. Wide receiver, obviously, they're set.
If you would just...
It's tight end.
If you would just budge a little bit, tackle is a need for the Cincinnati Bengals.
It's not a need. It's not a need. You wouldn't. No. You're not filling a need with a tackle. You're filling a future need, not a need.
You're generally a pretty logical person.
It's a future need. It's not a need right now. They don't need it right now. They got the Browns, both of them. They got 900 pounds of Brown.
They should take Fuaga because it's a need.
It's not a need.
It's absolutely a need.
It's not as big a need as corner.
You're frustrating.
Their two corners are both potential
They have
concerns.
They have 2 starters.
Well, everyone has
three
a
starters.
starter at everywhere right now. That's not. They don't have a starter they want.
DJ Turner will develop. They like the Taylor Britt's fine. He's
Because
good.
the model likes DJ Turner, so
Yeah.
he's going to be good.
Yeah,
That's
it'll
what
work
we're
over
saying.
time. Oh my gosh. All right. Let's go corner, idiot.
All right, who are we giving him?
Arnold.
Arnold.
I don't
Terry
care.
Arnold.
It's a zone. You're just going to be mad about his zone skills all the time. I don't care. He's awesome.
That's a great pick.
Terry Arnold to
Arnold
the
at
Bengals
18.
at 18.
Love that pick.
The need-based mock when there's a
need
tackle
mock.
on the
It's
board. Fashnu's still out there. Dallas Turner's still out there. Terry Arnold to the Bengals.
People are going to be big mad when they see the guy still on the board.
Yeah. Fashnu to the Rams.
There you go. Look at that. Los Angeles Rams on the clock at pick number 19 with Olu Fashanu on the board.
Left tackle.
Somebody said that DJ had put Fuaga above Joe Alt on his latest top 50. That dude's stock has just been going up all the way through.
Yeah, Fuaga and Latu are 2 guys, like I said, who are early, like preseason model, way before the hype guys.
Model watch list?
Yes, which is good for me.
Sure.
The model identifiers. I call that the model, the first round identifier list. The model's doing a pretty good job of pulling those guys out before anybody's talking about them. And then the first person to really talk about Fuaga that I know of was Trevor.
Yeah.
Here at PFF. Right?
Yeah.
And I know PFF grades have been out there for Fuaga. I mean, he had monster run block grades and everything. So,
Right.
Yeah, it's not crazy. I mean, I think it's crazy because Alt is awesome, but it's not. Statistically, it's not model crazy. Fuaga's right up there.
Model crazy. So if you're the Rams, would you just take Fashanu or would you take Fuaga and move him to the left side?
No, I mean, I talk a lot. We talk a lot about moving guys from the left to the right side. I think there's always some inherent risk there. And historically, have any right tackle, any college right tackles
Move to
moved
the other side, yeah.
to left tackle in the NFL? The guy that I can think of is Jedrick Wills,
right,
with Alabama.
Hasn't
and
been
at the
great.
time, we were thinking, hey, the Browns, they're open to this thing that hasn't happened previously because if guys move from the left to the right, why can't they move from the right to the left? And Jedrick Wills has not been great.
I'm sure it's happened, but I can't think of examples.
Yeah. I mean, I cited the Trent Brown example the other day where literally every 2 or 3 years he just flips.
Between them.
And he was a guard in college.
Yeah.
And he was recently talking about, like, man, they screwed me over. They had me at guard. What are they thinking? I'm an NFL tackle. But I don't know of any
It's definitely not
college
common.
right tackles that have moved
Right.
to the left.
It's definitely
off
not
the top of my
common,
head.
generally speaking, because teams will have the best pass blocking guy at the left side. So if you have a guy seen as an elite player on the right side, they're generally not there because they're the best pass blocker. They're there they just happen to have developed into a great player from the right side, and teams are not going to move them to the other side. I don't know. I feel like it has happened. I just can't think of too many examples. Tyron Smith did it for a while. Somebody in the chat pointed that out as well. He played both, right, at USC.
Who did?
Tyron Smith. Zach Bacon in the chat points that out. He definitely had spent time on both sides of the line in college, but I think he was left tackle by the time
He also
drafted.
played right tackle his first year in the NFL.
Yes.
Before he moved.
Right.
So Tyron might have played both. Like Jonah Williams played both in
I think a lot of guys have played both. in
Right. A
college.
lot of guys started at right tackle, finished at left tackle, then went to the NFL.
Yeah.
There was someone else I just had, just lost his name. Someone else did that. Anyway, I like the idea of Fashanu as the pure left tackle going to the Rams here.
Cool.
For their left tackle spot.
I love Fashanu. I think he's being slept on at the moment.
Again, I'm surprised by that. I did not expect that come draft season. Pittsburgh Steelers are up on the clock here at
Pick
pick
number
20. What's their biggest need?
So is quarterback in need with Russ and Justin Fields there? No, right?
No. Again, the sim has to update. We need to update
Sim
that.
has to update.
It's all perspective based, right? Like Timo's putting his needs in here, thinking long term. If he's putting quarterback for the Saints and everything,
He just doesn't like half the quarterbacks in the NFL.
I mean,
It's
he's
different.
playing the game of if you don't have a top 8, you have 0. If you don't have a top 8 quarterback, you have none.
This is another tackle team. Dan Moore Jr. needs to be replaced.
Yeah, Marius Mims.
Marius Mims?
Well, so here's your
Overlap-
question: you could take Fuaga. No, I would take Fuaga.
Right.
Take Fuaga, put him at the right side, and move Broderick Jones. Okay, yeah, that's
You don't
perfect.
even want to move. Okay. You want to move Jones, not.
Well,
Waller.
Jones played left tackle in college.
Yeah.
Fuaga's only played right tackle, so keep him on the right side. Put Mims back to left tackle. I mean, Broderick Jones back to left tackle.
All right. Cool. Fuaga, it is.
Fuaga's a good stealer. He's a
Good
good stealer. I mean, he's gonna crush some dudes
Yeah.
run game.
Black and blue division.
in the run
That's
game.
the AFC one, right? Or is that the NFC?
I don't know.
Which
The
one of those
AFC
is the black and
Central,
blue
though, you
division?
got to be able to run block in the
AFC
Central.
Central.
You have to be able to run block in the Central,
Yeah.
and that's where Fuaga's a good fit.
All right. You're coming up against Big John Henderson and
Marcus Stroud.
Marcus Stroud twice a year.
Yeah.
Got to.
No, they were AFC South.
Oh, AFC South.
John
Who's the
Henderson. So no, wait,
Who's
ready?
the extra team from the
Marcus Stroud played 1 year in the AFC Central,
Central? Okay.
2001, and then Henderson was drafted in 2002. That's when the South was born.
Oh, okay. So they were in the Central. It's just not when he was there. Is that what you're saying?
The Jags were in the Central,
Yes.
but they moved to the South for all of Henderson's
that's
career.
right.
Yeah.
I thought you were telling me that the Jags weren't in the AFC.
No, they were in the Central.
Right.
They were in the Central. I mean, you're talking like Seth Payne. Our friend Seth Payne played in the Central.
There you go.
For the Jags.
So, okay. You're going to block Seth Payne twice.
And
a
Ronaldo
year.
Wynn.
You're going to need a big body.
You need a big body.
That's a big fella.
Take on
Still.
Seth and win from the class of 97. Taking care of your health isn't always easy, but it should at least be simple. That's why for the last few years we've been drinking AG1 every day. No exceptions here in the PFF NFL podcast. It's just one scoop, mix it with water once a day, every day. Makes you feel great, ready to go, ready to podcast for 3 to 5 hours. It's because each serving of AG1 delivers our daily dose of vitamins, minerals, pre- and probiotics, and more. It's a powerful, healthy habit that's also powerfully simple. I like to drink AG1 first thing in the morning, which is recommended for optimal nutrient absorption. Fill up the shaker with extra cold water, add 1 scoop of AG1, shake it up, and then you're ready to go. If I'm running short on time, can't mix the AG1 before heading out, just grab a travel pack. Each has an individual serving of AG1 that's easy to mix on the go, helping ensure I get my daily nutrients no matter what. So if there's one product I had to recommend to elevate your health, it's AG1. That's why we've partnered with them for so long here and the PFF NFL podcast. So if you want to take ownership of your health, start with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 plus K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first purchase over at drinkag1.com/PFF. That's drinkag1.com/PFF. Go check it out right now. Who's next?
The Miami
Dolphins are up on the clock here.
The chat says that John Henderson must be the most random player that's brought up in this podcast every time he listens.
Well, because he got slapped in the face pretty famously.
I always felt that there's a great story to be written of somebody tracking down the dude that was John Henderson's slapper.
Why don't we do that, man? You're a journalist.
I don't know how to. I did
Let's
a
get to
journalism
our
degree back in the late 1960s. I don't know how to. How do you find that guy?
We could find. We have enough Jags connections here.
You think Seth knows him?
Seth?
As a late 90s Jags guy. How long was that guy there?
Seth was with the Texans by the time Henderson. Henderson basically replaced Seth Payne.
Right, but how long was the slapper in the building before he became the slapper?
Let's DM Seth.
Maybe he was Seth's slapper.
Seth is a podcast listener. Now I don't know.
Maybe that wasn't a John Henderson thing. Maybe this dude just really liked slapping people before they went out.
Maybe he was slapping Seth.
That's what I'm saying.
And then John inherited it.
Anyway, I just feel like there's an interesting story of somebody finding that guy and telling the story of how John Henderson liked to get slapped in the head every time he went out to play.
Seth, when you're listening to this, whenever you get to this part of the podcast, if you could just send us whatever information you have, we're going to track him down for an interview that 5 people are going to watch.
It'll be gold, though. It'll be magic. That's the kind of high-level journalism that just isn't getting done anymore.
Dolphins, defensive tackle.
Tackle.
Christian Wilkins is out.
Zach Sealer still there.
Benito Jones. Neville Gallimore. You got Zach Sealer, but...
Neville Gallimore.
Sealer? Never get it right. Need a defensive tackle. Is that their biggest need?
The offensive line is still rough.
They have starters, Sam.
Liam Eichenberg?
They have starters.
Liam Eichenberg at left guard?
They have starters.
That's a starter?
Yeah.
They have starters on the D-line as well.
Brought in Kendall Fuller to play corner opposite Jalen Ramsey.
Yep. Kader Kohu in the slot.
Kader Kohu.
All their edge rushers are getting back healthy, so they're okay at edge, even though they ran out of them last season.
Tight end brought in Jonnu Smith to go with Durham Smythe.
That's kind of
defensive tackle. Biggest needs defensive.
It's D-tackle or left guard.
Yeah, there's no left guard here on the board.
Unless it's J.C. Latham still there, right? Plug him in.
I think he's still a tackle.
Graham Barton.
Graham Barton's a pretty common.
His name's getting some
pick.
heat. Some.
I think him and Fotnu because of the flexibility. Because when people are doing mock drafts, they're over there this team needs a guard and they need a tackle. This guy could do both.
The more you can do.
It's easier to fit them in because that's what we're struggling with
right. The more you can do.
Because we're doing team needs here.
I like Graham Barton.
And you won't let me draft a tackle to teams that need a tackle in a year.
I like Graham Barton. Come in, play left guard right away.
Over Newton?
Over
Drazon Newton.
Yeah.
As the pick.
Yeah, I do.
Ugh, fine. I feel like I let you talk me into all the picks.
All right, the next time we argue, you can have your pick.
Just
do whatever
so
you want.
soft in this. When I'm actual GM, I'll ignore you.
Philadelphia Eagles, pick number 22.
We're giving them Graham Barton, the Dolphins.
I already did it. It's done.
Man, that's
we did it. Click the button.
It's what every mock. Graham Barton is the Brock Bowers
complaining
to the
that
Jets
it's
move.
chalk now.
Yeah,
okay.
It is. Everybody's doing this.
Well, that's because everyone drafts for needs.
Now we're gonna get. I don't want to get caught for plagiarizing.
Yeah, no, that's true. And we don't want a plagiarism scandal. Having just unearthed our own.
Eagles are up. Give them a safety. Give them a low-value position.
We would be hit with hypocrisy and plagiarism in the same.
Can't have that.
Same thing.
Can't have it.
Nightmare.
Eagles up on the clock.
Yeah.
What's their biggest need?
You could argue guard for them, given Cam Jurgens is going to replace Jason Kelsey at center, so somebody needs to play right guard for them. What else do they need? Now, can't be corner.
Can't say corner because you got the two old
corners
guys.
now.
Because you have starters.
D-line, they're set. Safety, they're okay. Linebacker?
They have Devin White.
Linebacker?
Nakobe Dean and Devin White playing next to each other.
Doesn't feel great on paper. Running back, they're good. Wide receiver, they're good. Tight end, they're good.
We can't future-proof tackle like they would. They always need edge rushers.
So it's right guard or linebacker, right?
They don't need edge rushers on paper.
No, very much not.
Gosh, Dallas Turner's still on the board. People are going to be so mad about this.
This is what happens when you draft for need. This is why it's bad. We're making a point.
That's the point we're trying to make. That's the point we're trying to make. Look at all these edges and tackles. Right now, Dallas Turner, J.C. Latham, and Amarius Mims
are just sitting here.
All on the board.
Drafted for need. See?
Just as an example. Kool-Aid McKinstry, still on the board.
Somebody says stay true to needs. Punter is the pick.
They have a punting problem.
Apparently. I'm not
going to lie. I have not kept up with
$5 right now if you can even tell me who their punter is.
Can't. Can't. It's not my job. It's not my job. As I've said, on a Sunday afternoon while 8 games are happening, as soon as the punt team comes onto the field, my eyes divert to another screen.
You're just switching to something else.
Of course. I'm not going to, let's see how this punt goes. Hope he gets it inside the 5. No.
Yeah.
I'll find out after the commercial break.
Right.
Where the ball is.
So it's linebacker or right guard where Tyler Steen is currently slated to start.
There's no linebackers or guards here.
Or there's J.C. Latham.
You want to move Latham to guard?
I mean, I don't want to do it, but as long as we keep needing guard teams and there aren't guards,
I kind of like it.
He's a guy I think you can plug in there.
Latham to guard for the Eagles.
There we go.
Love this. Oh, they're going to crush dudes up front. Yeah, this is great.
Pick number 23, the Minnesota Vikings, with their second pick having already drafted a quarterback.
We took J.C. Latham to the Eagles. Pick 23. Okay. I mean, now it's pick 23, Minnesota Vikings. Yeah. What are we saying for need here?
Well, they already drafted a quarterback, so that's their biggest need.
D-tackle. They're taking the D-tackle.
Yeah. God, have you seen their defensive tackle list at the moment?
You sounded disgusted.
I did.
More disgusted than what we read about from Arizona the other
Nose tackle. It's very comparable. Nose tackle, Harrison Phillips.
They love Harrison Phillips.
Defensive tackle, Jonathan Bullard. Other defensive tackle, Jerry Tillery.
Coming off a career year, Jerry Tillery.
Yes.
Still have coffee left. That's great.
Top notch. So Jerzon Newton. Johnny Newton.
Johnny Newton. Any other top needs here?
Well, yeah, the whole defense, basically.
You'd say guard for them as well?
Sure, yeah.
Left guard?
I mean, either.
Good for Blake Brandel still hanging around here.
Good for him. The interior offensive line as a totality. The defensive interior as a totality.
I like Johnny Newton.
Linebacker, they're set. Cornerback is a need still.
Johnny Newton for the Vikes.
Johnny Newton.
Let's do it. Trezon Johnny Newton, Illinois defensive tackle. Interior penetrator for the Minnesota Vikings.
Let's go.
Puts the Dallas Cowboys, need-based mock here. Dallas Cowboys up on the clock. Do I need to do a reset?
Oh, God, no. We're too deep into it for that. Too deep. It's gone. The opportunity's passed.
It's up on the screen.
Right.
Somewhere, if you're watching.
The Dallas Cowboys' biggest need on paper right now. You're going to love this. You know what it is?
What?
It's running back. Deuce Vaughn is their starting running back right now.
Well, he can handle the load.
Deuce Vaughn at 5'5" and 176 pounds is their workhorse.
Hater. Corner?
What? Did you say corner out loud in front of people?
Yeah, Jordan Lewis isn't really going to be. Deron Bland in the slot, and you need an outside corner.
You've got Trayvon Diggs, Deron Bland,
and Jordan Lewis.
And you think corner is a bigger need than running back, where the top of the depth chart is a 5'5".
We're not filling the biggest need. I mean, you just.
That's exactly what.
No, we're filling needs.
The need is running back. They don't have any.
The need center or T.J. Bass, Brock Hoffman. Guard center combination.
Right.
TJ may have been a model guy, not lived up to the hype. Brock Hoffman, the center. Those are the needs. So we're gonna drop down and pick Zach Frazier at center. Like that's what Jerry would do. He'd pull Travis Frederick out of the ether and be right about it.
Yes.
That's what he would do.
This is a rough team to be picking for needs, because their needs would force you into doing some crazy things.
For sure. Some good players left on the board. People are going to be real upset about this, Sam. Real upset. I would go center.
Okay. With Frazier?
Right?
Because we took JPJ already? Wow. Yeah, this is rough. What if they identify the next Travis Frederick?
What if they have? You don't think corner's a need there?
No. Certainly not when we're talking about the other positions that they don't have anybody in.
Yeah, they need a center. Let's go Zach Frazier. Got to scroll down a little bit for West Virginia center.
Quite a while.
Zach Frazier. Not too far, right?
30. Yeah, no, he's all right, actually.
Currently on the PFF draft board at what number?
31, 30.
Yeah, 31. Yeah, that's fine. First-round player per Trevor.
For Trevor. All right.
Zach Frazier, the center out of West Virginia, going to the Dallas Cowboys. It puts the Packers up on the clock. Good luck with finding a need here.
They don't have any needs. They're great. They're set everywhere.
Certainly not by your criteria.
Oh, God, no. They're set everywhere.
Do they have a body?
Do they have a body that
position?
we don't like? Yes. Safety. Safety. First-round safety.
DeJean? People want to have him play nickel and safety.
Nickel on safety.
DeJean is the top one on the PFF draft board, and then Tyler Nubin.
Why do they want that?
From Minnesota. For DeJean?
Yeah.
I don't know, because he moves and plays like a corner. I like the nickel thing. Did you just yell something, Eli?
It might have been a sneeze. It's hard to tell. Soundproof.
I mean, I know why they might want that.
They also, they have a reasonable need on the interior offensive line, right? Right guard to replace John Runyon.
Yeah, that's fine.
Sean Ryan at the moment. That's not great.
But I think they like him. I think they like all those guys, and they just develop them. They all become
the
good.
entire team is like 17 years old. Like, they're going to like everybody as a young,
17,
developmental guy.
They're all developmental players.
But Anthony Johnson Jr., Chris's guy, is currently starting at one safety spot. That's not great.
Well, he's a first round. Some people had him as a first rounder last year. Anthony Johnson Jr., the safety out of Iowa State.
They did.
Oh my gosh, we will never. I can't wait. We have to have Chris on again this year. And is he gonna? That was unbelievable. He brought a guy that was in the 200s on the consensus draft board.
Put him in his mock.
And just loved him so much. And
yeah.
I didn't even know. Chris doesn't watch every player. Doesn't need to. He only really covers the first round, right? How did he watch him? How did you even get to his tape?
His grade was nuts, right? Didn't he have a really good grade?
He loved him. No, he graded well.
Right. So he probably,
he was actually he was a model identifier guy.
That's what I'm saying.
Really good production.
There would have been reasons to watch his tape, and then once you watch the tape, he's like first round talent.
And we don't know. Chris might not be wrong. We haven't seen much Anthony Johnson Jr. yet. He might be a very good player. DeJean is the guy that a lot of people are putting to the Packers. If you want to go pure safety, it'd be Nubin.
Which do you want to do? I told you I would defer to you.
I like DeJean there, but
right.
It's
do it.
It's plagiarism.
DeJean
plagiarizing. We're plagiarizing a lot of mock drafts here.
We're in trouble. No, it won't, because the whole mock will be different. They'll be unique. It's like a bracket. Everyone's bracket is different.
No, I understand. Except DJ and Kuiper, 12 same picks. DeJean
26.
DeJean to the Packers at 25.
Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
We have 3 chalk picks here. It's fine. Bucs are up. Yeah, 26. Why is running back a need for that? The needs are all depending how you define them.
They're all right with running back.
Of
Rashad White, Chase Edmonds, they're good.
I know they are. I don't know why that's their top need on the
tight end is a bit rough.
On the MDS.
Kate Otten, Payne Durham.
Now my depth chart is screwing up here. It's not loading.
Tight end's a little rough.
Otten's good.
It's all right.
Otten's a good tight end.
Corner
now that they traded Carlton Davis.
Right.
That's definitely the need.
Jamel Dean's still good, even though he looks like a linebacker.
It's absolutely cornerback. So
it is.
Nate Wiggins next up on the PFF draft board, or Kool-Aid McKinstry?
I think Nate Wiggins is a much better corner than Kool-Aid.
The Kool-Aid hate. Is this up there with Christian Gonzalez level hate, where you were wrong?
The man played 7 snaps. We don't know anything about him yet.
Shut down Tyreek Hill. Shut him down.
Yeah?
Yeah. Gonzalez is good. You could chalk that one up. Yeah, I think corner's the biggest need for the Bucs here.
So Wiggins.
Yeah, Nate Wiggins.
Done. Easy.
Dallas Turner's still on the board.
He is. Now, here we go.
Arizona.
Pick number. See, it all works out in the end.
Any level of pass rusher, defensive presence.
Yes. Any defensive player, frankly, is a need for Arizona.
Dallas Turner to pair with
the Barbarian.
Dallas Turner to Arizona.
Now you got Dallas and the Barbarian. It's like a buddy cop movie.
Look at this. Eli, it's tough to keep up now. We're now picks fly. Sometimes they just fly off the board.
It's it's just
so
like the draft.
Wiggins to the Bucs.
Yep.
Dallas Turner, edge rusher out of Alabama.
Easy.
To the Arizona Cardinals. That puts the Bills up on the clock here.
Buffalo.
What's their biggest need?
It's another team that doesn't tend to have too many glaring needs.
Even in an offseason where they've had turnover, though.
I don't think wide receiver is a need, because they got Khalil Shakir, they signed Curtis Samuel, and then they've got all the guys you love as just random mass players on the roster. Matt Collins, KJ Hamler, etc.
Oh my gosh, what a unbelievable receiving core.
Right.
The depth. Any others that I loved? No.
Defensive tackle, they've got Daquan Jones back and Ed Oliver. Edge rusher, they've got Greg Rousseau, Von Miller. They're stuck with him. AJ Epinesa. Corner, they re-signed Rasul Douglas. Christian Benford has been the guy. They re-signed Teron Johnson to a big contract.
They have their starters are all starting.
Both safeties.
Their starters are starting. They're starting. No, they have Mike Edwards. They just brought in.
They have Mike Edwards and they have Taylor Rapp and DeMar Hamlin still there. So safety. I mean, this is not a team with a ton of needs. Matt Milano's coming back. Terrell Bernard, Nicholas Moreau at linebacker. I mean,
I would say in the spirit of this mock draft, they just pass.
They pass on their pick. They trade out of the first round.
They're going to trade down.
Okay. They trade out of the first round.
Okay, so Arizona at pick 35 has a million needs.
There you go. Look at this. This is teamwork here.
Arizona still has what's let's go back to Arizona. What's their biggest need? Concoct a trade.
Okay. Well, let's see.
Arizona has brought in Marvin Harrison Jr.
and
Dallas Turner, which on paper is going to look like, wow, they got 2 top 8 players. That's insane.
Right. So any of these teams at the top of the second round. The Carolina Panthers, pick 33. Arizona, 35.
Arizona should come up and get Kool-Aid. Starting corner.
Okay, let's do this. This is easy. Look at this. All right. Trade. Arizona. Where are they? There they are. Arizona.
What else are we going to get for them?
35, 28. What's that going to cost you?
So Buffalo's trading 28 to Arizona's 35. And you got to throw in probably...
138? 104?
138? Yeah, try 138.
Offer trade. They're not interested in this trade. Trade accepted. Okay, cool.
Perfect.
That works.
Yeah. So Buffalo's going to pick up, what's that, a 4th?
Whatever 138 is.
Whatever 138 is to drop. We should have that with it. To drop 7 spots to 35.
Yes.
So Arizona's now on the clock.
So having solved their needs.
Because Buffalo has no needs.
Perfect.
They're trading out in this need-based mock. We're going to have to do the same thing with the Lions.
And then Arizona drafts Kool-Aid.
Arizona's taking Kool-Aid McKinstry.
This couldn't be working any better.
Now I have to make the trade on my own end here. Trade. Arizona. Where are you?
Perfect.
This is
and
great.
People thought this would be hard.
Yeah.
All right. Detroit.
They doubted us.
Do Detroit need a right guard? No, they got Zeitler, right? I forgot.
Force this trade.
Detroit, have they got any weaknesses whatsoever in this roster? I said a while ago this might be the best roster on paper heading into free agency.
They have to trade
or heading
out
into
now.
the draft, rather. And it kind of might be.
No, they have to trade out.
They do, don't they? The 5 offensive linemen are set. Wide receiver's not a need.
Who's the next most needy team?
Jameson.
Okay, ready? Panthers are coming up.
Desperately for a wide receiver.
They're going to use their pick 30 now. No, but they're picking at 33. Patriots can come up.
For what?
To get a receiver.
For a receiver?
Yeah.
Okay. Trade.
Patriots. Wait, no, Patriots should come up for Mims.
For Mims?
A tackle.
Okay.
They have a desperate old line.
34, 29, and 137. It's about the same trade.
Hip drop just got banned.
Okay. We have breaking news.
We
got to break up the mock draft.
No.
We have breaking news coming from the NFL.
This has to happen at the end of the show. We can't do this now.
Breaking news at the end of the show after the mock draft, and we will discuss. Just be ready. This is
29 for 34 and 137 was accepted on my thing. The Patriots are now on the clock at 29. And who did
Patriots starting tackles Connor McDermott and Chug Okorafor.
Okay. They're taking Mims?
Chooks Okorafor.
Mims?
Yeah, Marius Mims.
Monster, Georgia offensive tackle that looks like, if you imagine Steve, but jacked.
Dude.
What? He's your size.
I know, but
jacked.
I don't need to catch strays every time.
It's not strays. I just said he's your size, but jacked.
That implies that I'm not jacked.
I don't think you're
Patriots
jacked.
take Amarius Mims here.
I don't think that's
pick.
a massive insult to say you're not jacked.
Baltimore Ravens are up on the clock.
Oh, they have to have needs, right?
They have needs now. It's an
line.
uncomfortable offseason for Baltimore.
Why do they dismantle their entire offensive line voluntarily?
I don't know. I don't know what's happening there.
It's usually not a sound strategy.
Patrick McCarry currently...
He's okay.
No, I get it. But he's like...
The bigger problem is guard, right?
Yeah. You have questions at guard. Ben Cleveland's there and the other guy. But McCarry... I'm not going to say... McCarry, you want as your swing. So tackle, I think you can still call
so either, you can take any form of offensive lineman effectively.
Now, unfortunately, Amarius Mims, we just got beat out from Mims.
We screwed ourselves. We sniped ourselves.
Pass rusher? What about edge? Chop.
Surely not.
Edge. Yeah.
Really?
Adafe Owe.
Owe.
Ojabu. and
Yeah.
Tavius Robinson.
It kind of is actually
Yeah.
a need, yeah.
Right?
How did the Ravens get this bad this quickly?
They lost all their coaches,
Yeah.
a lot of front office personnel,
Yeah.
and a lot of players this offseason.
Yeah.
Just as a heads up.
They
That's
did add Derrick Henry, though, so all
They
was
added
well
Derrick
with the
Henry, which is great. Oh, boy, him and Keaton Mitchell are going to be fun. Fun out of that backfield.
So,
I think edge rusher.
edge rusher or guard.
I would say edge rusher.
Then it's so it's Chop, is it?
I would take Chop.
Okay, do that.
Now, does he fit what they're doing? He's more pass rush specialist than a true edge setter. But I think he's the next guy on the board.
Okay,
Let him rush the pass.
Chop Robinson, pick number 30.
Chop Robinson to the Ravens at pick 30. They could be a Darius Robinson multi-gap team guy. 49ers are up on the clock here. Getting close. We're closing in on a breaking NFL news that we're going to discuss.
Yes, 49ers, their weakness. Is that offensive line as well?
Yeah, I think. Well, they brought in John Feliciano at guard. I mean, they're all starters that they like. Aaron Banks.
Or at least have been comfortable with going with in the past.
Yeah, I mean, they made it to the Super Bowl and had great offense.
You
with
could
that group.
surely replace Colton McKivitz fairly acutely, right?
At right tackle?
Yeah.
No, he's a starter. I mean, if he's as much a starter as Trent Brown is for the Bengals.
Then it's Ambry Thomas, the other corner spot. Lenore, I guess, is there. Like,
The corner spot might be good.
I mean, it's tackle or corner, right? I guess defensive tackle, given that the guys they brought in this year aren't
Javon
good.
Hargrave, but complemented by Malik
the other
Collins,
guy,
Kevin
right.
Givens, Jordan Elliott. It's all
guys that grade in the 40s.
they're higher than that, but there's no real defensive interior players here until we go to Braden Fisk.
Braden Fisk.
Oh, dude, he keeps moving up this offseason.
First rounder.
Model identifier.
Model identifier.
Knew about him. Knew about him.
So, okay, 3 spots. You go tackle, you go corner, you go safety. One of those 3.
Do you do receiver just because Ayuk might be on the trading block?
No.
Why?
Ayuk. Because you have Ayuk, you have Juwan Jennings, you have Debo, you've got... No, can't. It's not a need. And they run less.
So you think corner?
Yeah. It's corner, tackle, or safety. One of those 3.
All right, so next on the board, we have tackle Tyler Guyton. Did I knock the mic out again?
I don't know.
No.
Did you?
Tyler Guyton.
Yeah.
And then the next corner, I like TJ Tampa, man. I mean, Mel had him in his first round out of Iowa
did?
State. Saw him play live.
You did.
I don't know if you've heard that. Not sure if you've heard. I saw TJ Tampa
Only
live.
every time we discuss him.
I promise I will not let you forget.
No.
Wait till we talk Ray Davis.
Great.
Okay. What are we doing?
Either tackle, corner, or safety.
Give him Guyton.
Guyton.
Developmental tackle.
Tyler Guyton.
Love that.
Developmental tackle.
I love that.
Kansas City Chiefs.
Finally got a developmental tackle. In
Number
the draft
32 on the clock.
They don't need a wide receiver. They have Marquise Brown. Your rules.
They have one Marquise Brown. They have 3 wide
Rasheed
receiver
Rice.
roles.
They have Rasheed
that's true.
Rice.
They do have Rasheed Rice.
They have receivers. Justin Watson.
All right, is corner now a thing with Sneed not there? Jalen Watson,
Yeah.
Joshua Williams, and
Jalen
Trent
Watson's
McDuffie.
solid. Joshua Williams.
They're
They're
all
both
okay.
solid. They're starters. They're not fitting your need. They got to trade down.
They got to trade down.
They might be D tackle.
I was going to say, outside of Chris Jones, D tackle. Mike Pennell is a run stuffing
give
guy.
him-
Wharton never really became the pass rusher they wanted
Let's
him
give
to
him
be.
Braden Fisk.
Okay.
Listen,
I don't
as
wanna
I've
make another
said,
trade.
I'm a believer.
Wait, tackle. It's left tackle. Wanya
it is.
Morris.
Oh, yeah. We just took the tackle off the board.
We sniped ourselves again.
Jordan Morgan. I'm going to reach for Jordan Morgan.
Or Kingsley from BYU.
No, I wouldn't. No, I wouldn't do that.
You wouldn't do that. So Jordan Morgan.
Jordan Morgan he's one of the non-model guys I might like. One of those guys.
Okay.
Patrick Paul. But yeah, Morgan's the next guy on the consensus board here.
So we
What I'm
take
saying.
Morgan?
Yeah.
Do it.
Fill the need.
Morgan, Arizona.
Left tackle.
Done. Now we're into
Jordan Morgan, come on down. You are going to protect Patrick Mahomes' blindside.
Now my system had a flaw, and the flaw is me. Remember, I opened another window with just the teams that were picking in the second round,
Jordan Morgan. Yeah.
so that we could be in this situation and be ready.
You don't know who's going to be available.
Yeah, because I didn't also populate that one as we went. Also, I didn't complete the trades that we did, so the Carolina Panthers, for example, are not one of those teams anymore because we drafted for them. No,
Who's
we
next in
didn't,
the
right?
second
We did
round?
the Patriots. So the
We don't
Panthers
have
are.
to do they?
Panthers are on the clock. They need a wide receiver. They're taking the next wide receiver off the board. That one's easy. Let's do that.
We're not going through each pick here.
What? We're doing this the teams that didn't pick in the
Just
in the
pick
first.
anybody. Just pick the next players on the board.
Adonai
and then
Mitchell.
Whatever's available.
Adonai Mitchell to the Panthers.
Yeah.
Done.
Got it.
All right.
Now the Lions are up. Oh, so they need picks.
That's
The Lions need to have somebody.
no. The Lions are. We don't ignore the Lions. Oh no, they do because we didn't pick. Yeah. Okay. My bad.
Just forget the second rounders in this one.
Forget the second round.
Like, listen, Texans fans and who else? Browns fans. And who else?
I don't know.
Who else is left?
Texans, right? No, we did Texans.
No,
Did they trade out?
there's no Texans. There's no Browns, and then
So Texans. Texans
who
are on
else?
the clock at 42. What's their biggest need?
at 42.
Yeah.
Texans.
Yeah.
I gotta find them.
Gotta find the Texans. Texans' biggest need.
Just give them anybody.
Just give them anybody. You're not. I don't feel like you're invested.
How
in
about
this.
slot corner, Kamari Lassiter?
Slot corner? Kamari Lassiter. You want
Because I think
your
he can
biggest
play
need is a
outside. Too.
slot.
I like Lassiter.
Okay. Even though he runs a 4.5/6.
I think you were misinformed.
I wasn't
with the
misinformed.
4.6. There was bad reports about the 4.6. I think.
They were from people at the thing saying that he clocked at 4.6.
Yeah. Well, I don't trust their stopwatch.
You know. Okay. Fine. All right. So Lassiter to the Kamari Lassiter, Georgia corner to the Houston Texans. That's what we're doing here.
Yeah.
Right?
Kamari Lassiter to the Texans.
All right.
Who else have
that
we not
puts
picked?
The Cleveland Browns, 54.
54 is the Browns.
Yep.
What's their biggest need?
Quarterback. Sorry.
Michael Penix Jr. to the Browns.
I jest.
Oh shoot! What
It's a
happened?
joke. Have you broken something?
And Ultimate just broke on me.
It did, didn't it? Right when you need the final depth chart of the day.
Somebody updating.
Have you
Hold
not told the people they can't do this? It's blocked off in the thing.
What is going on? It just died?
Yeah, pretty much.
Are you asking?
Oh no, the internet has died. It's even better than that.
The internet's down. Good. Let's wrap.
No,
this
there
show
it
up.
is. It's back. It's alive. Okay, Cleveland Browns. Let's wait. What's there? Wide receivers good. Offensive line.
Walt, stop asking for best player available. I don't think you understand what we're doing here
Didn't
today.
get it. Didn't get the memo.
Read the title, Walt.
Offensive line, defense, corners good. They're set. Do we have to trade out for the Browns?
No. Stop. End it.
Just take them a pick. You gotta just go
2
pick
hours
somebody.
in. Defensive tackle?
They've got Dalvin Tomlinson, Shelby Harris, Quentin Jefferson. They're okay. Maurice Hurst, they're fine.
They've done a good job building depth once
Yeah.
again.
Building a roster, period.
I can't get this to load. I can't get
Is it left tackle? Jedrick Wills?
if you're future proofing.
I mean, even if, just as at this point we're looking for what is their biggest need, not even what is a need. That might be their biggest, and it's not a need.
Patrick Paul could be the guy
I mean, I can, yeah.
at tackle.
Man, the Browns roster's good.
Yeah, it really is. What else? Dead air. Dead time here. Dead air. I can't get this thing to load. I can't get my depth chart out here.
No, you've broken it. I think, I don't know. They don't have a need. The Browns do not have a need, and we have to pick somebody.
Patrick Paul.
Quarterback. Give him a developmental guy.
No.
Michael Penix Jr. to combat to go
won't
head
be
to head. What a room that would be. That would give them.
Our Raiders are already taking him.
That would give them a 5-man quarterback room of Deshaun Watson, Jameis, Tyler Huntley, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, and Michael Penix Jr. What a camp battle that would be.
great. It's a great room.
I'm all on board with that.
I'd give him Patrick Paul, the Houston offensive tackle.
All right, absent
He's going to
anything
compete
else
at
to
left
do.
tackle with Jedrick Wills. And who's the other first-round team that doesn't have a first-round pick team that we're forgetting?
Who did we trade out with? Detroit and Buffalo. Wait,
No,
where did Buffalo?
we don't need who went. There was 3 teams that went into the draft without a first-round pick.
Cleveland, Houston, and Carolina.
Oh, and Carolina. Yeah, we already hit that. We already did it. And we're not circling back to the Lions and the Bills.
Okay,
They traded out.
Fine.
You win. You have no needs.
Wow. Cold.
That's the Super Bowl next year.
That's the Super Bowl.
Based off of the needs-based mock draft, it's Bills-Lions next year.
All right, now do you want to do your breaking news? There's your mock. You're welcome. We fixed it. We ruined every team. in more or less, 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
We
whatever.
spent over 2 hours to teach you a lesson, people.
To teach you a lesson.
When you're saying you didn't feel the team needs,
This is why. This is why you don't do that.
you have a bad mock.
So you end up with a
you
terrible,
have bad results.
terrible mock draft.
Can't have that.
As Eli says, 55 quarterbacks, 55 wide receivers, and 55 tackles. Everyone needs those 3 positions.
That's what they need. All right. The breaking news.
Yes.
Oh, man, this is going to take a while.
What do you got?
The NFL has banned the hip drop tackle. 15-yard penalty and an automatic first down will be enforced should a player use that technique.
And, most critically, it will be enforced using fines.
Which you hate.
Yes, I do. So, you want my take on this?
Yeah.
I don't mind banning the hip drop tackle as a concept, right? I think the NFL wants to change the game. Pretty much every contact sport in the world is changing the game in a safer direction, right? They are banning things that previously used to be legal. The NFL has been doing it for decades. You go and watch a tape of Joe Montana playing the game. The dude, every play is a penalty now. Joe Montana would get a roughing the passer penalty every other drop back in today's NFL. So we're already changing the game for in a more safe direction. And actually, people were kind of railing against it at the time. But if you watch most of those late hits, you're like, yeah, fair enough. That should be a penalty now. It's okay. It's worked. We've all become conditioned to this newer, softer, quote-unquote, NFL, where it is safer and you do get less piss-taking hits, right? So we're all changing in this direction. The hip drop tackle is the latest, where they've looked at this thing and they've said, like the horse collar before it, this has a disproportionate volume of injuries for the good that it brings to the game. You can tackle without doing this. We're going to ban it. Now, people will say rugby has banned it. I think it's only rugby league has banned it. But it has been banned in other sports. Point being, it is possible to tackle without doing it hip drop wise. So I don't have a problem saying we want to take this out of the game. It injures people at a ridiculous level. It's going to be a penalty going forward. What I think is a very bad way of doing it is by enforcing it via penalty, or via fines, rather, on players. Because you're immediately taking money out of guys' pockets for something that was legal yesterday. You're trying to immediately change behavior. And that's going to take some time, and it's going to take some penalties, and that shouldn't cost people money because you're trying to change the game. It's also completely impossible to 100% eliminate these plays. They're going to show up at some point. It's a violent game happening in split seconds. There are going to be certain instinctive times where you just commit a penalty. Again, I don't think that should cost you $20,000 out of your pocket because you're trying to shift the game. I think if you want to change the game, penalties are fine, and you need to come up with some other deterrent that is not financial, because this shouldn't be costing players money because you're trying to change behavior.
So the other good stuff. The other tricky part about the ban, correct me if I'm wrong, is this not how the NFL has been trying to teach children to tackle? The kids that they've been teaching for the last 10 plus years?
No.
What's the history of, because there's like this element of like the Seattle tackling method and everything, right? Give us the quick history here.
The problem that NFL has in terms of tackling, and I do think that football has an institutional tackling problem. The NFL, because of the way, so you go back to the 1800s, the NFL and rugby were the same game, right? They eventually diverged, they go in different directions, and one of the key differences is stopping a guy dead, progress-wise, is more important in football than it is in rugby. You can absorb a tackle in rugby, give up 2 yards in the process, and you're fine, right? Now, it's still, ideally you want to stop him at the gain line, but it's not the end of the world if you give up those 2 yards. In the NFL, that can be the difference between a first down and not, right? It's a critical part of the game. You need to be able to stop a guy's momentum. So the NFL taught guys for a long, long time to get your head on the other side of the body so that more of your body is in front of the guy, the ball carrier, so that he's hitting a brick wall, right? So that you have more weight behind the tackle. Rugby, for a long time, has taught this cheek-to-cheek tackling technique where face cheek goes against ass cheek, and your head is out of the way of the tackle effectively every single time you're tackling. So you hit with the shoulder, your cheek is on the other side of the tackle, and you go down that way, and you give up a little bit in terms of the actual contact, but you keep your head out of the way so you don't get concussed as much. So the NFL, for a while, now they're like, well, okay, we've now realized that we're creating this like world of concussions that is getting us sued by people and class action, all that kind of thing. We now need to figure out how we get this head out of the tackle, but we've been institutionalizing it from such a degree. So you had teams like the Seahawks try and teach these hawk tackle things, which effectively was a rugby tackle. It's different to the hip drop, right? Their thing was you would grab hold of the guy's legs, grab him by the thighs, cheek to cheek, and then effectively they would have you roll down, right? That's not the same as essentially chasing a guy down from behind, grabbing hold of his hips, and then swinging yourself around onto his legs. Rolling with him is different to swinging yourself onto his legs from behind, which is the hip drop tackle.
And so this is almost always a tackle from behind. We no longer have the horse collar.
Or from the sort of three-quarter angle, from where you're chasing a guy down, you grab hold of him, and then you swing yourself around momentum and drop down on him.
I think for something that's the tricky part here is you want to have consequences. That's why they have fines. That's why college has targeting where you're kicked out of the game and suspended another game. You want to have consequences.
And I
so
think
that people,
by the way, as much as people hate that, that's a much fairer way to defenders of doing it than fining them, in my opinion.
But you lose a game check, don't you? If you're suspended for a game, you lose a game check.
So I don't think you should. I think it should be a paid suspension.
Okay. Fair. I mean, either way, you need consequences, right?
Yes.
So you need consequences to get it out of it. But I think because they had such a tough time defining this and coming around to it, like, can't you just have light consequences while you're trying to figure this thing out for year one? The thing I don't like when I'm watching a game, right, as all of the rules, I liked the idea. You called it defense fighting back last year. I liked having lower scoring games and some more competitive games. And I think a lot of that may have been because the quarterbacks all got hurt last year or whatever.
Right.
But every last rule in the last 20 years has been to the offense's benefit.
Right.
And there's nothing, I think, as just a football fan, because I'm wearing the NFL hat right now, as a football fan watching a game and it's 3rd and 17 and there's an illegal contact, automatic first down, or there's now a hip drop, or there's a roughing the passer, automatic first down, and now there's this, 15 yards, 15% of the football field, right? You start your drive at the 25, you have one of these, you're immediately at the 40. I mean, you're 2 plays away from field goal range. This is instantly putting points back on the board for the offense. So from a football watching perspective, I just want fewer 15-yard penalties and automatic first downs at the same time while trying to, as you said, make the game safer. Like, I also don't want our best players, our favorite players, our favorite players to watch getting hurt and rolled up on and getting injured. So I appreciate getting those plays out of the game for safety purposes.
It's a difficult balancing act because I think in order for you to create a legitimate deterrent and something that will change behavior, the consequences for doing it has to be draconian. It has to be almost more severe than the penalty itself lends itself to. So for rugby, it was basically any head contact was getting a red card where the guy is immediately ejected from the game, doesn't play for the rest of it. Like it was, and so you had a lot of situations where you had what's really a marginal play. You see these in the NFL as well. The ones where they were really hot on the illegal, the roughing the defenseless receiver thing for a couple of years, right? And you had a couple of these that were like really marginal, just off. And it's like, no, that's a ejected, or that's a flagrant hit, that kind of thing. You almost need to be erring on that side because otherwise you're not going to change the behavior because it's going to be too easy for everyone to go, it was just too close, it was a bang play. What are they supposed to do? It's borderline, and we let them get away with it, and you perpetuate that behavior. So if you genuinely want to change the way the game is played, you kind of have to go through a period where you're being too harsh on these things so that people err on the other side of the line, and now you can back off at some point and you've changed the behavior. One thing I do want to say, you will hear a lot of defensive players now that this is a thing say, how are you supposed to tackle a guy, right? You only have to watch rugby to see that you can tackle people from those angles without hip dropping, right? It's doable. Instead of swinging yourself around onto the back of his legs, just wrap his legs and drop your arms, and he'll go straight over. Like, it's doable. It's perfectly plausible. Does it become harder because you have one way of tackling no longer available to you? Sure. But it's not like defense is now impossible. We can't play this game without being able to hip drop.
How common has the hip drop been? It's like
It seems like it's gotten pretty prevalent, to be honest.
It's a pretty new phenomenon, though. Like, people weren't doing this.
I think they probably
that
were.
much years ago.
No, I think this is a way that's been tackled for a while in the NFL, but it's becoming. I think it is becoming more common, and I have no problem stamping it out. I just think that the way of doing it, the NFLPA, in my opinion, got railed in the last CBA, and to an extent, it's inevitable because they're trying to represent the interests of like 5,000 people as opposed to 32 who all get to choose what their agenda is.
Right.
So they might just be on a no-win proposition every time they go into that bargaining room. But they
listen, really quick. The NFLPA compared to, say, the MLBPA, the Major League Baseball's Players Association is extremely strong. And so they usually come out winners in their negotiations. I think the NFL, but the difference is the MLBPA is always fighting for something financial, essentially. That is their number one priority. They don't have to fight for safety.
Right.
The NFLPA has to fight for safety first. They're trying to take care of their people, which is why the franchise tag, which is archaic and they don't like, probably isn't going away. It just can't be one of their top priorities because they're trying to have less practice time and take care of their players first. That's why the NFLPA, I believe, loses when it comes to rule changes, loses when it comes to finances.
I don't even think that it's just it's that the interests of a veteran player are wildly different from the interests of the rookies that are coming in, and the interests of one position is different to the interests of another.
Other
position.
sports have that, though. That's not unique to football.
No, but the point is, I think the NFL is very good at saying, okay, like figuring out what to give them and then destroying them on the other things that they need to give up in order to make that happen, right? And the NFLPA has a really tough time zeroing in on what the two things they want to get out of every negotiation are, and everything they lose in consequence, the NFL kills them on. One of the things they lost is this ability for the NFL to basically just fine players to oblivion arbitrarily. Now, okay, the fines go to charity, right? So it's not like the NFL is just stealing money from them, but players are getting financially, not ruined, but players are getting financially hit hard for football plays, for things that should not be taking money out of your paycheck, right? And plenty of them are ones where they get missed. If an official didn't see it live,
and you're still getting fined,
you should not be getting fined $48,000 on a Monday for it, right? If it was that obvious, the dude should have seen it with a flag. And if it wasn't, you probably shouldn't be able to fine a guy for it.
It does feel pretty ridiculous.
But anyway, I think that fining is a bad way of doing this. I have no problem with the concept of trying to take this type of tackle out of the game. I think it can be taken out of the game. I think it probably does create a disproportionate volume of injuries. It's exactly like the horse collar to me. We got rid of that. It's not the biggest deal in the world. I just think doing it via fines is an egregious, unfair thing to happen to players.
As always, we're going to get in here on a Monday morning. It's going to be 7:45. We're going to be in Game 3 of our 15-game review, and we're going to be talking about the egregious hip drop tackle call that an official made that put a team into field goal range for the game-winning field goal.
Yep.
Right, save that clip. We'll play it in Week 7 when this happens next year, whatever it is. That's just more anxiety for us having to deal with it because the officials have to implement it and enforce it.
I think you have to
anything there. Please give us more communication in New York. The more we have to make these subjective calls that are 15% of the football field. We just need more communication and more just collaboration.
Yeah. Number one, I don't think that's ever going to happen. Number two, I think you do need to accept, though, a period where there are going to be, number one, bad calls, and number two, calls that feel disproportionately draconian relative to the infraction that was happening. I do think that's necessary to enact change, but I think you're right. One of the critical pieces that makes that easier to stomach is transparency with the process and understanding what they did, right? When you hear the conversation talked out, like, this is why we're doing this is what he did, this is how we come to this conclusion, ergo it's a 15-yard penalty, it's easier to stomach. You at least understand why they came to that conclusion. When you simply hear, What's the personal foul, 15-yard penalty, hip drop tackle, end of story. That's what annoys people. The NFL should be more transparent with their officiating decisions, and they won't be because reasons.
There is another rule change that is, for me, just as important. That is official. It was initially Pat McAfee reported that they're hearing from sources, and I think it's been confirmed here, the Lions challenged the rule about challenges, where if you
the challenge rule.
They challenged the challenge rule, where a coach gets 2 challenges, and if you're successful on both challenges, you get a third bonus challenge. But if you were only successful on one of those 2 challenges, you're done. That's it. The new rule is every time you get a challenge right, or the first time you get a challenge right, you
roll over every time you get one right.
You get the extra one right. So you get up to 3 challenges as long as you get one right.
Oh, up to 3. Oh, but only up to 3. I think you should have 2 challenges, and every time you get one right, it rolls over.
Just keep going. You get a 15 challenges.
You only lose a challenge when you get it wrong.
Yeah, so just to be clear on this one, the way I'm reading it, every team will have up to 3 challenges as long as you get one right. If you get 2 wrong, you're done. If you get 1 out of 2 right, you get a third challenge. Whereas previously, if you only got 1 out of 2 right, you're done. You're out of challenges. This just makes logical sense. This never should have been the rule in the first place. It made no sense whatsoever. This is logic winning finally here in 2024, probably 15 years too late.
I thought you were going to go to the new kickoff rule.
That has not been voted on yet, or it has not been finalized, reportedly in the May owners' meetings.
Yeah.
I think it's the owners' meetings, right? This was the coaches' meetings.
Okay.
The owners' meetings in May, they might have that finalized, the XFL kickoff rule.
Right. Yeah.
XFL-ish kickoff rule.
Yeah, ish.
Either way, this feels like a season where we're going to be, offense is going to fight back. Because we might have a few more kickoffs that go beyond the 25.
Right.
And we're going to have some just free 15-yarders in there.
Drops.
And then, in August, they're going to be like, oh, by the way, it's time to really focus on illegal contact. I love when they just always put a little extra focus on illegal contact and that, brushing a guy's shoulder at 6 yards and giving away free first downs.
I do think that the push to improve safety is connected with this explosion of offense generally. Like, the way the dynamics of football, most of the things that are most dangerous are defense on offense crime. You know what I mean? They're hits, right? It's things that if you're trying to clean up all the things that are going to hurt people, most of the things you're going to tick off first are defensive players.
But here's the hypocritical thing, Sam. It's not conspiracy theory-ish, but it's hypocritical, right? The NFL clearly wants more offense, right? What's better for the NFL? More points. Yeah. People like more points. It's better for fantasy. It's better for excitement. We want more points. But they want safety too.
And they want more games.
So if they were truly worried about safety, if every single rule leads to more passes, the unsafest plays are in the pass game. They are. Versus the run game. The unsafest plays that we're trying to get out of the game, the defenseless receivers and everything, are in the pass game. So you're adding hundreds of passes to the NFL each year because the rule changes induce teams to pass more. So inherently you're putting more unsafe plays out there, even though you're trying to police them. Similarly, you added an extra football game. You added extra games, which of course there's more opportunity to get hurt if you add extra games. So it's very hypocritical to focus on just the safety aspect of it while adding more passes, which are unsafe for head injuries, and adding more games, which are just, more opportunities for injuries. So obviously it's not a pure, it's not pure reasoning here. You're trying to balance maximizing revenue and excitement with, let's do a solid for some players so that we can, make them safer and make them play more. And we're going to have an 18-game schedule soon.
On the one hand, you look at that and you say it's hypocritical. Same with people bring this up all the time, that the NFL is trying to improve safety but also get an extra game, also get an 18th game, on the one hand, you can look at that and say that's strictly hypocritical. Those two things work against each other. On the other hand, you can look at it and say the only way of getting to an 18th game is by making the other 17 more safe. Otherwise, we're never making it that far.
I get the concept. I'm talking about unintentional consequences, and I think a lot of people in the world generally only look at the thing that's directly in front of them. It's like the needs-based mock, right? They only look at the acute need right now. let's be safer, and have no semblance of the unintentional consequence of once you start policing, say, headshots over the middle, teams are going to start chucking more, right? They're like the illegal contact rule. Every rule that they've made has made teams say, should I run the ball or should I pass the ball?
Yeah,
everything has said pass more.
What Tom Brady's talking about. Like we've changed the game so that players no longer have to protect themselves on offense because theoretically they should be protected.
That's all I'm saying. I don't think any they're filling a bunch of acute needs and nothing with unintentional consequences being considered. The unintentional consequences is now there's hundreds, maybe thousands more passes in an NFL season per year than there were 20, 25 years ago. That's what's happening.
It's also the same. Like all of these contact sports are dealing with a similar problem, which is how do we make the game safer? Knowing that you can never make it safe, right? You can never fix it because it's a contact sport. Like at some point you have to draw a line and say, beyond here, we're no longer playing football or rugby or whatever your contact sport is, right? How do we take away the most egregious things, try and make it safer, generally focus on head trauma, and not fundamentally change the game in every respect? And again, I don't know what the answer to that is, right? And I don't think anybody else does either. I mean, Rugby, again, I think it's a couple of years further on dealing with this stuff, but people are saying the game's going to disappear. Like, we're going to be playing tag rugby at some point, right? Because you can't take all of these out of the game. If you want to remove this from the game, you are no longer playing this game. Football is the same thing. You can't, it's never going to be injury-free. There's violent contact happening. Same way, I mean, soccer is a much less contact sport, but has cleaned itself up. And again, same thing. You go back and watch a game from 1980s, it's like prison rules soccer, right? These guys are launching themselves in, two-footed leg stamp tackles, right? And they're not even getting red card. They're not even getting a yellow card for it. It's insane. So they've changed it radically, but you're never going to stop a guy like twisting his knee and, tearing his ACL or whatever. It's part of the game. You're never going to stop collisions. Guys are going to smack into each other, head contact, blah, blah, blah. So you can't make it 100% safe, but you can tick off the most egregious elements of it, right? It's like road safety. You can't make it so that everybody steps into their car and will have 100% probability of reaching their destination without having an accident. You can, however, install airbags, make everyone wear seat belts, put a speed limit on the road, do 7 different things that make your chances higher of making it to your destination.
And through my logic, having safer cars may have induced more people to drive, and clearly there's more accidents over time and everything.
There's no
I get it.
zero-sum solution that fixes all this, but I don't think that means the answer is to just play the game like it was in the 1970s.
Yeah. All I'm saying is when the league tries to come across as, hey, we're just trying to do the players a solid and keep them safe, when the reality is you're doing things that probably potentially lead to even more injuries.
Sure.
Then it's like, all right, that's disingenuous, and you're making a ton of money along the way. Ari Myrov, former PFFer, rest in peace. Currently a 33rd team, did a nice job accumulating some of the reactions. J.J. Watt wants to put belts on with flags. Belts and flags.
Of course. J.J. Watt overreacting to this is the least surprising news.
He's on to flag football.
Yeah.
Terrell Burgess, how can you ban something that in some cases you can't control? Javon Holland, breaking news, tackling banned. Mike Davis, the running back, as an offensive player, this is wild, LOL. Josh Metellus, competition committee, doesn't care about defense. Every year they make it harder for us to succeed. So, players have responded.
I don't know if they care or otherwise, but it is getting harder for defenses. But that's not to say it's impossible. Again, we've done this again. We've done this over and over again, right? You go back and watch. There was a similar outcry, just not on Twitter, when they banned the horse collar tackle. How are you supposed to tackle if you can't reach into a guy's shoulder pads and yank him down from behind?
Yeah.
How are you supposed to do it?
I think the more difficult one than this is a specific one. The horse collar is a specific one. I think the harder one is, again, players over the middle.
Yeah.
They're banning the headshot, but they also don't want you to go low. And this is the debate that comes up a lot, Sam, too. And Pete Prisco has mentioned this too. Like, players would rather get hit in the head than the legs. But that's the reason why the NFL is policing this thing, because players are sitting there in year 3 of their career. They're 25 years old. You're making these rules to protect them from future head trauma. But they also, when they lose an ACL for a year, and you lose a year of earnings or a year of earning power, That's a tough one too. And now in football, and defensive players don't know, you can't go above the shoulder and you can't go below the waist. It does hurt the strike zone, and that's a big challenge.
I have way more sympathy for the safety coming across and hitting a guy head on than I have for anybody complaining about a hip drop tackle. Like, if you can't tackle without a hip drop tackle, you don't know how to tackle.
Yeah, that's but the split-second decision of where to hit and whether he's jumping.
Yeah, and people are going to bitch, oh, you're telling players how to, you know more than a defensive player about tackling. If he thinks that the hip drop tackle is necessary to do his job, then yes, I do, right? Like, other sports can show you that that is not necessary in order to tackle guys. So that's just a ridiculous argument. It's hysterical. It's hyperbole. It's all that kind of stuff, right? There are plays, though, when you're coming across as a safety, hitting a guy that's like headed towards you in your zone, where you genuinely can't hit the guy and not cause a foul. Because if you hit him hard enough, unless you're hitting him like at the nuts, if you're hitting him anywhere in the chest, his head is going to snap forward and there will be head-to-head contact, right? And they're calling that. So those are the guys I have real sympathy for, where he comes in, he hits him like straight in the solar plexus.
Of course there's going to be whiplash.
And the dude's head whiplashes into the top of his helmet.
And the harder you hit him,
throw a flag.
And the harder you hit him, the worse it looks.
That's what, yeah.
And the worse it looks, the more likely it is to be a flag.
Right.
So you're actually incentivized to hit him like kind of hard, but not hard enough.
So those are the guys I have real sympathy for, where there are certain hits where it's impossible to hit him cleanly at all, because they're calling the ones even when it's clean and it's going to whiplash down. I don't think the hip drop is the same thing. I think people are going to bitch about that way too much.
Of all the things that they've added that are anti-defensive tackling, I would say hits over the middle and then roughing the passer. Like the idea of like weight on they want you to tackle the quarterback and while you're falling on him somehow lose your weight and roll off of him. I mean, there's some physics-defying expectations that the NFL has put into place over the last couple of years. This isn't one of them,
right?
The hip drop. But there's some other stuff I think that's more egregious. The problem, again, though, is when you add it all up and it's like all these different types of hits and tackles have been banned, it does make it more challenging for the defense.
And the fact that when you are missing them slightly, that'll be $30,000, please, on a Monday. I just think that's an egregious, unfair way of policing this.
That was fun, discussing stuff. We just took a long show and added another 30 minutes to it. Who could do that?
Perfect.
Who can do that besides us? All right, later this week, we'll do a Wednesday show, Mailbag NFL podcast at PFF.com, and you want to do running back rankings.
I think running back rankings would be fun.
Running back rankings on Thursday. Tell your fantasy friends, your dynasty or dynasty friends, your Devy friends, players that are going to be drafted. We'll give you all the running back takes.
Let's go.
Unload the model.
Unload the model.
Yeah, it will be all sorts of fun.
Unleash the model.
On Thursday. We're trying to find an interview for Wednesday. We'll see what we can do. But anyway, let's go. Eli's got to go home. It's been a long day.
It's been hours.
We appreciate everybody for tuning in. We'll see you again on Wednesday with more PFF NFL Podcast.